Chapter 1006. No one could argue with her when she decided to slack off. She made up so many excuses. Zhao Yun, could not help but roll her eyes. This Zhao Ping, was really interesting. She was lazy, but she still had to come up with so many excuses. However, thinking that Zhao Ping, was disgusting her at home, she could only be disgusted for one day. She would be getting married tomorrow, so she would not be upset if she did not see her. Mother, I'm telling the truth. It's not like you need my help. All right, let's not talk about you anymore. Go to the house and rest. Anyway, I can't count on you, Liang Jinxiao said helplessly. Sigh, some people really can't recognize themselves. That's even why Ping is so lucky of their hands. It should be said that old Zhao's third branch is very lucky. I don't have any appetite anyway. How can an ordinary family have such a beautiful wedding dress to wear? Coincidentally, they can't bear to spend so much money. Had already gone into the house. Now the third branch is different from Zhao Yun's words. Their family is building houses she would definitely jump out and argue with Zhao Yun again. That's about right. Liang Jinxiao hurried to Zhao Yun. They can naturally prepare these things for their daughter. If you want to say something, if Ping hears you, I would also prepare these things for my daughter. Mother, that's right. Are you still afraid only that she'll be angry? People can let their daughters marry such a gluttonous and lazy woman. Poor people can forget about it. Could not help but shake her head. Wedding dress is probably enough to buy several loads of grain. Such a daughter. Let's just take a look. At the mention of this, Liang Jinxiao also many girls in the village can marry off in such a grand manner. Or is like this. Look at Pinger's dowry. I just hope that she'll become better in the future. Really prepared a lot. Zhao Yun'er smiled. It's not shabby at all. Mother, don't worry. It's just a daughter. Ping. How can it be shabby? Definitely become better in the future. Everyone has the guidance of her in-laws. Pinger has a good life. I don't believe that Sister Ping. Yeah, Pinger has a good life after all. Lazy as she is in our family. When the onlooking villagers saw it, they chattered wholeheartedly with Zhao Yun'er's words. The discussion was very loud. Her in-laws' family is different from her maiden family. After all, they were not saying in their family bad. She has to be controlled by Yun'er's family heard it. Now that you've become someone else's daughter-in-law, not take it to heart. You don't have to take care of the household chores. The villagers' discussion fell into the filial to your elders and serve your in-laws. Relatives always like to compete with each other. If you're bullied at your in-laws' house, they could not stand to see who was better than the other. Therefore, Zhao Yun'er sneered when they saw that Zhao Yun'er's daughter was getting married in such a grand manner. When she married into the family, they could not help but feel a little jealous. The Qin couple looked all right on the surface, especially Zhao Yun'er's cousins. But Zhao Yun'er knew that these two people were also weirdos and definitely not easy to deal with, and they looked very jealous. She was polite to Zhao Ping. Liang Xinyu said to Zhao Yun'er she was greedy for Zhao Yun'er's beside her ear. Once Zhao Ping, mother, look, married into the family such a beautiful wedding dress today, and the dowry was given. She's so ugly. Then Zhao Ping, what a waste of the wedding dress of their family. Wu Zhenju agreed very much and said, Zhao Pinger's life was really in the future. The wedding dress. The happier Zhao Yun'er really would be. Overestimating herself. She couldn't deal with this kind of comparison. She's even uglier. But there were plenty of people who could do it for her. Once you buy it, she have no self-awareness at all. Girls get married in the future. Liang Jinxiao called out, "Mother, then walked into the room of the third branch. This is not a small expense. It's a waste of a banquet." Understood. In addition to when I get married, that it was very difficult to buy this wedding dress for her. Clothes. Liang Jinxiao still had a lot of unwillingness in her heart. I won't embarrass her. She did not see Zhao Ping. When I go back to my delicacy in the countryside was that when she saw Zhao Ping, they could only be beautifully for her wedding. Frowned and said, "After all, you are Longins not that mother doesn't want to buy it for you or can't everyone could afford it. It's mother, just that this is a very expensive thing. The more Liang and the others also agreed, the more indignant she felt. So many Longins were very careful about the others in our family to peel all of them. I married into a good family. When they arrived at the room of the third branch, and my in-laws gave me a lot of money as gifts. Saw that Liang Jinxiao was peeling Longins, it's only right for me to dress nicely when I get married. Mother, are you peeling Longins? The others can't find a good in-law. Liang Jinxiao responded. A lot of betrothal gifts. They can't compare themselves to me in dressing nicely and getting married suddenly in style. Became very attentive. Liang Xinyu said to Wu Zhenju, looked at somewhat indignant, or with some confusion. When Wu Zhenju heard this, he felt didn't that Liang Xinyu words made a lot of sense. You need to take good care of your hands. Mother, otherwise, of course, they won't look good when you get married tomorrow. All right then. Zhao Ping will go back and tell your father and the others. That's washing vegetables and cutting dishes. Our family received a lot of money as gifts for your wedding. Peeling Longins won't hurt my hands at all, so that you can get married in style. Liang Jinxiao nodded and thought that it was true. Liang Xinyu nodded, continued to be very anticipation. Mother, as long as you can go out and do your work, who wouldn't want to dress beautifully on their wedding day? I promise to help you peel them far away. Zhao Yun'er's eldest glanced at Zhao Ping, Liang Xinzi, and thought that Liang Xinyu's words, was willing to work. Her delicate brows furrowed with disgust. There was still a lot of work outside. She was very unhappy with Liang Xinyu's words. However, he could go out and help out more. Feeling was quickly hidden by him. To Zhao Ping. Liang Xinzi stared at Zhao Ping. I'll leave this to you. Don't worry, beside her. I'll definitely do it
Sister
well.
Ping-er is really
This was
lucky
not a
today.
difficult task.
What Saisha
It
nodded
only
and
needed
said,
to take some
"Yes,
time.
Ping-er is a
Liang
lucky girl."
Jinxiao agreed.
Sister
He went
Ping
out
looks
to help
much
with other
prettier than
things.
usual today.
Zhao Yun,
When she dresses
saw
up like
Liang
this,
Jinxiao come out
Haha,
and
of
asked
course.
curiously,
if she doesn't
Mother,
look prettier,
how
would
did
she
you
look
finish
uglier?
peeling the longan
As
so
the saying
quickly?
goes, clothes make
Liang
the man,
Jinxiao
and
smiled
gold
and
makes
said,
the Buddha.
It's
This
not that I
saying is
finished
definitely
peeling them.
true.
It's your
Little
sister Ping-er who helped
looks
to peel
much better
them.
now that she's dressed
Sister
up.
Ping-er is helping?
Yes, Zhao
Liang
Yin
Xinzi
replied.
Zhao Ping
Liang
said
Xinzi
that she would not help a
raised her
second
voice,
ago,
so that
but
Liang
the next
Xinyu
second
could hear her.
she stepped in
She wanted
and
to
helped
anger
to peel the
Liang Xinyu.
longans. Sure
According
enough,
to Zhao
when
Yin's
Liang Xinyu
understanding
heard
of
of
this,
Zhao Ping-er,
she couldn't
that
help
woman
but roll
Zhao
her
Ping,
eyes. Or must
she
be
felt
up to
that
no
Liang
good.
Xinyu must be
Mother,
blind.
don't let
Even
Sister
after
Ping
dressing up,
or eat
she
all of
still
them
looked
while
so
she's
ugly.
peeling them.
How could she
Liang
say such
Jinxiao's
words?
lips twitched.
You're blind.
Yinner, that can't
Liang
be right.
Xinyu secretly
Mother,
complained.
what's there to not
the
know?
corners of Liang
It's not like
Xinyue's
you don't
mouth
know what
curled
Sister
up as she
Ping-er is
allowed
like.
Liang Xinyu to
I don't think
continue.
so.
She
If
knew
he
that
ate it
Liang
all,
Xinyu was
what would the
jealous of
customers
Zhao Ping
eat tomorrow?
Thinking
He
about
shouldn't
how
be
Liang
so
Xinyu
insensible.
was jealous of
Liang
others,
Jinxiao muttered.
Liang Xinyu
Although
heart
he
felt
said so,
sour. He was actually
Sister
a little
Ping
worried.
is so lucky.
Therefore,
Don't be
she
like
hurried
him.
into the house
If
to
only
see
he
how
could
Zhao
marry
Ping
half
was
as well
peeling
as
it.
him.
In
Liang
fact,
Shizi muttered
it was
again.
somewhat similar to what
Saisha
Zhao
smiled
Yinner
and
had
said,
guessed.
Zier,
Zhao
don't
Ping
worry.
sat in the
I
house,
will. Peeling and eating from
Mm-mm.
time to time.
On this end,
However, Zhao
while the
Ping
Liang
was
family
smart.
members were
She
muttering,
didn't spit the shell
Zhao
out on the
Ping
ground.
was almost done with her
Instead,
preparations.
she put it in her pocket.
Comb her
This
hair
way,
to her tail.
no one
Comb
would be
her
able
hair
to
to
find
her
out
eyebrows.
after she ate it.
Comb her hair to
If
her
Liang
eyebrows.
Jinxiao hadn't
Comb her
secretly
hair to fill
glanced
the
at
hall
it,
with
he
grandchildren.
probably wouldn't have
Old
found
Madame
out.
Liang smoothed
Seeing
Zhao
that
Ping's
Zhao
hair
Ping
in
was
front of her.
secretly eating, Liang Jinxiao couldn't help but
After
sigh
she
in
was
his heart.
done smoothing her
How
hair,
could his daughter be like
she began
this?
to braid Zhao
She was
Ping's
really
hair.
insensible.
When the hairstyle
She was already
done,
so old.
she put a
But
big
she
red
didn't think
flower
about
on her
anything.
head.
Looking
She was
very
really
festive.
making her parents
Zhao
worried
Ping
sick.
sat and
Liang
kept urging.
Jinxiao walked up to
Hurry
Zhao
up, hurry
Ping
up.
and said to Zhao
Don't be
Ping,
too slow.
with a sullen
What
face,
if Big Brother Yuan
Ping
comes to fetch me?
I asked you to peel the
Zhao
shell,
Ping,
not to eat it.
impatient words
You
made
said that you
everyone
were
present
peeling
feel
and eating
very
at the same
awkward.
time.
Whose
By the
family's
time
girl
you
was
finished
marrying
peeling all
someone
the
like
shells,
Zhao Ping?
would you have eaten
When
half
other
of
people
them?
got married,
Zhao Ping,
they were reluctant
didn't
to
expect
part with
Liang
them.
Jinxiao to
Zhao
suddenly
Ping
barge in.
or could not
She
wait
frowned
to
and
immediately
said to
become
Liang
part of their
Jinxiao,
family. Mother, why did you come in again? You didn't even make a sound. You
Chapter
were like a ghost.
1026.
You scared the hell
After
out of
old
me.
Madame Liang finished
Liang
speaking,
Jinxiao was angered
everyone
by Zhao
present
Ping.
couldn't help
This
but
girl,
snicker.
what was she
They
talking
felt
about?
that old Madame
She
Liang
didn't
was
pay
right.
attention at all.
Zhao Ping,
What did she
or really
mean by she
couldn't
looked
get
like a
married like
ghost?
this?
Which
If
part
it
of her
wasn't
looked
for the
like a
fact
ghost?
that Qin Yuan
Wasn't
was
she
willing to
cursing
marry
someone?
her,
It
Zhao
sounded
Ping,
very
or would
unlucky.
probably have to stay at home for the rest of her
Chapter
life
1008
and become an old lady.
Mother, no wonder Zhao Ping
was
so
so knew
anxious.
that Liang Jinxiao
Thinking
had
about
seen
it,
her
it
eating
made sense.
secretly.
She
Pinger's
lowered her
grandmother
head, helped
and
her
did
comb
not
her
know
hair
what to
quickly.
say for a moment.
Don't make her anxious.
Hey, you little girl.
That's right.
I asked you to
Look at
peel
how
something,
anxious he is.
but you ate it
Hurry up.
secretly.
We
If
can't
you
let the
finish
man
it,
wait.
what are you going to
Otherwise,
feed
he
the
won't
guests
be willing
tomorrow?
to wait.
Mother,
And
isn't
will turn
there
around
more?
to leave.
Who
Zhao
will
Ping
marry
muttered
Pinger in the
unwillingly.
future?
There is
Haha,
more. That's
but
right.
there
That's
isn't a
right.
lot.
Pinger's
If you eat
marriage
too
isn't
much,
easy.
there won't be
Don't
enough
make
for the
things
guests.
difficult for her.
We didn't buy that
That's
much.
right.
Hurry
Liang
up and do
Jinxiao
it for
said
her.
in a lecturing
Otherwise,
tone.
Pinger's
Because
going to
Liang
cry.
Jinxiao was rarely
The people who
strict
wanted
with
to
Zhao
join in the
Ping.
fun said
Zhao
one
Ping
sentence
felt very
after
wronged
another
and
with a hint of
uncomfortable when he
teasing.
suddenly said
Zhao
this.
Ping,
Or
Mother,
wasn't in the mood to
didn't I
bicker
just
with
eat
them.
something?
Instead,
If you talk
she
about me
continued
like that,
to urge old
I won't
Madame
eat
Liang.
anymore.
Old
Zhao
Madame
Ping
Liang
pouted
was
her
helpless
mouth
and looked unwilling
She could only
to give
help
up.
Zhao Ping.
Liang
Er's
Jinxiao
hairstyle
sighed
quickly.
deeply again. After Zhao Ping's hairstyle was done,
You little girl.
she looked
Just
in the
don't
mirror
eat it later.
and started to apply
Okay, I know,
rouge on
Mother.
her face.
After Liang
Pinger,
Jinxiao
what are you
finished
doing?
nagging Zhao Ping,
Old Madame
he went
Liang
out
had
again.
never seen
He
this
thought
before.
that Zhao Ping,
She curiously
would
came
not
over and
continue
asked
to
Zhao
eat in the
Ping,
future.
Grandmother,
He felt a
this
lot
is
in his
rouge.
heart.
What Liang
Old
Jinxiao
Madame
did not
Liang looked
expect
at it
was that
and
Zhao
was
Ping
still very puzzled.
was extraordinarily
Yes,
thick-skinned.
rouged.
This
After
thing is worth
Liang
a lot.
Jinxiao left,
Zhao
Pinger said proudly, knowing that there were so many people in the room. She was showing
did
off.
not care.
How much
if there
is
was
it?
less,
Old
wouldn't
Madame
it be
Liang
fine if
asked
there was
weakly.
less on the table?
Zhao Pinger raised
After
her voice
Liang
and said,
Jinxiao left the house,
"Grandmother,
he continued
this is
to
just
help.
a small box."
At this time, Li
It's worth a
Chuiying
few
and
hundred
Feng
copper
Zhangsha came
coins,
over,
or one tael
Li
of
Chuiying
silver.
smiled and said to
Hearing
Liang
Zhao Pinger's
Jinxiao,
words,
Old
third
Madame
sister-in-law
Liang looked at
"You
Zhao
are really
Pinger in
busy.
surprise.
Do you need me and
What?
your sister-in-law
This thing
to
is
help?"
so expensive?
Liang
It's just
Jinxiao
a small
glanced at Li
box.
Chuiying and
Little
Feng
Ping,
Zhangsha.
you're not talking
She hadn't
nonsense,
expected
are you?
her sister-in-law
Zhao Pinger
and second
frowned and said,
sister-in-law,
Grandmother,
to be so kind
how
as
could I
to
talk
come over?
nonsense?
She smiled
really
a little
that much.
embarrassedly.
Why?
Eldest
Is it so
sister-in-law,
expensive?
second
You
sister-in-law.
can buy a lot of meat with
It's
that
not
money.
good to trouble you,
Old
is
Madame
it?
Liang felt.
Li Chuiying
She felt
hurriedly
that
waved
Zhao
his
Ping's
hand and
money
said,
was not worth it.
"Third sister-in-law,
Grandma,
what are
this
you
is good
saying?
stuff.
We are a
You
family.
don't understand.
What is there to
After
be good
applying
about?
this stuff,
It's only right
it can
that
make
we help
people
each
look
other."
better.
Feng
Zhao Pingsha
Zhangsha
even
also
more.
followed behind
The more
and
it's,
echoed,
the more she felt.
"Yes, third
as
sister-in-law."
complacent.
Your
After
family
all,
is too busy.
she was by.
It's okay
She was
for
by
me and your
sit,
second
tea as the
sister-in-law
people
to
at the
help.
side heard.
Is this
And
okay?
some of them had heard of
Liang
Rouge before.
Jinxiao was still
They
a
could
little
not help
embarrassed
but
to
sigh.
trouble the two of them.
Looks like the
Why
third
not?
branch is really
Your
rich
sister-in-law
now.
and I
They're
happen to
even
be
willing
free
to buy such
with 2 more
expensive
people
things for the
working.
lass.
We can
Isn't
finish the
that
work
so?
earlier.
I heard
Don't
that
you
Rouge
think
is
so?
only used by the
Liang
young
Jinxiao
ladies of
pondered
wealthy
for a moment.
families. That was indeed
Yes,
the
I've heard of it
case.
too.
However,
We country
it
folk
was not
don't
good
have
to
the
ask
ability
for help
to use
after
it.
all. Moreover, Li Chuiying
Ping
and Feng
Erzes can't
Zhengxia's
even
sudden
use
kindness
things that are
made
used
Zhao
by
Yin
the young
feel
ladies
strange.
of wealthy families.
Hence, Liang Jinxiao
Sai, what
looked
can
at
we
Zhao
do?
Yin
The
and
third
asked for
branch is
Zhao
rich.
Yin's opinion
The
first.
envious voices around them
Yin-er,
grew.
your
Zhao
eldest
Ping
aunt
Er's
and
vanity
second
was
aunt
greatly
said that they are
satisfied.
coming to help us.
Liang Xinyua's
Zhao
jealousy
Yin
grew.
looked at Li Chuiying
Not only
and
did
Feng
the ugly
Zhengxia.
Zhao Ping,
As the
or have a
saying
wedding
goes,
dress,
one
but
who
now
is
she even has
unaccountably
rouge.
solicitous is hiding evil intentions. She didn't believe that these two
Chapter
people came to help on
10:27.
the account
Why?
that they were relatives.
Why did that slut Zhao
Perhaps
Pinger
they
have
had
such
some
a good
ulterior
life?
motives.
Why wasn't their
Zhao
family
Yin
the
the
one
one
who
who
got
got
this
rich?
matter had something
If
to
their
do with
family
the
was like
banquet
Zhao
held by her
Pinger's
family
family
and got rich.
After all,
They would
they
probably
had
be able to
separated from
afford
old
such an
Zhao's
expensive
family.
rouge.
As an
What a
independent
waste
family,
of good stuff.
old
Liang
Zhao's family
Xinyu
only
muttered.
gave a gift
She
money.
thought that if the rouge
Hence,
was used on
they
her
were very
face,
fond of wine
it would definitely
and would only
make her
invite
face
Zhao
very
Baoshan
beautiful.
to the table.
Zhao Ping,
No one else
Er's
would have a
foundation
share.
was really
If
too
their
poor.
family didn't
No
invite
matter
other
how much
members
she
of
dressed
old
up,
Zhao's family
it
over,
couldn't cover up
Zhao
these people
Pinger's
wouldn't
ugly
be able
face.
to eat.
What a waste of good stuff. Liang
Chapter
Xinzi chuckled.
1009.
You are.
After
What
all,
are you talking about?
the smell of the
It's
food
their
would
problem
definitely
to
be
waste.
very
It
enticing.
has nothing to do
Most
with
of old
us.
Zhao's family
Besides,
members
their
were
family
gluttons.
is rich.
Now
They
have
have the
Li
money to
Chuiying and
waste.
Feng Zhengxia
Unlike
were here
us
to
who
help.
can't even afford
They
to
knew
buy
very
it.
well that if they
After
helped,
Liang
Zhao
Xinzi
Yin
finished
wouldn't
speaking,
refuse to let
Liang
them eat.
Xinyue felt
They
even
could
more
help when they had
uncomfortable.
nothing to do.
Don't talk
When the
nonsense.
time came, they could eat
when I
delicious
said waste,
food.
I wasn't
It was
referring
definitely
to this.
worth it.
I
This
wasn't
wasn't a
referring
losing
to that.
deal.
So
I
of
can't
course
be
they
bothered
would
to
do
talk
it.
to you.
Zhao
Liang
Yin
Xinyu
smiled at Li
pursed her
Chuiying
lips.
and Feng
Liang
Zhengxia.
Xinzi didn't
Eldest
continue
auntie,
speaking.
second auntie.
However,
You're really
when she saw
enthusiastic
the
today.
jealousy on Liang
For some
Xinyue's
reason, Li
face,
Chuiying and
Liang
Feng Zhengxia
Xinzi's
felt
heart
very
continued
guilty
to feel a
when
little
they
better.
saw Zhao Yin'er
She
smile.
liked to see Liang
This
Xinyu jealous
Yin'er
of
listened
others
to what
while
you
she
said.
couldn't get anything.
It's only right for eldest
Grandma,
auntie and
I'm
second
getting married
auntie to
today,
come and help.
so I have to
Your
dress
sister
up beautifully.
beautifully. Is getting
That's
married.
why I have to put on
That's
this
a big
rouge.
deal.
Is that
As
so?
aunts, we naturally
Old
have to
Madame
help.
Liang
Didn't
That's
know
right.
much about this.
Although we're
Zhao
separated,
Pinger nodded.
we're still a family.
Grandma, you'll
You
have
have
in a
too few
while.
people.
Old
I'm
Madame
afraid
Liang
you won't
stared at
be
Zhao
able to
Pinger
handle it.
curiously.
That's
She
why
wanted
we're
to
here
see
to
what
help.
Zhao Ping
When the
was going
time
to do.
comes,
You'll have
Zhao
more
Ping
free time.
or took out the
The
rouge
two
from
of
the
them
box
echoed each
and
other
applied it to her
and were
face.
having a lot of fun
After
talking.
applying it,
The corners
her whole
of Zhao
face
Yin'er's
suddenly
mouth
became
came
much
much but
paler.
twitch. Even some of the freckles
really
on her face
interesting.
were covered.
If one were to
When
say
Liang
that these two
Jinxiao saw
ants were
this, he
stupid,
could not help but
sometimes
exclaim,
they were really
"Ah,
smart.
Pinger girl."
However,
You
Zhao
look so
Yin'er
much
didn't
prettier.
care. Let them
Zhao
say
Pinger
whatever they
smiled
wanted.
proudly and said,
If he wanted
"Grandma,
to take
of course.
advantage of her,
Grandma,
that was not
ordinary
going to happen.
people can't get such a good
I didn't
thing."
expect eldest
Old
auntie
Madame
and
Liang
second
replied
auntie
with
to
a
be
smile.
so enthusiastic.
Haha, that's right.
If I had known,
It's such a good
I
thing
wouldn't
and
have
so
asked
expensive
outsiders
for help.
Ordinary
But
people
now
can't
that they've
get their
already
hands
asked
on
for
it.
help, Grandma,
And they took the
do you
time
think
to
I've
come
become
over.
more beautiful?
It's not good to
Zhao
let them
Pinger
go.
purposely moved
So,
her face
eldest
closer
auntie,
to him.
second auntie,
Old Madame
we
Liang
appreciate
nodded
your
as she looked
kindness,
at her
but
spotless
we don't
face.
need you to do anything
Yes,
now.
it does look better.
Zhao Yin'er's
With
words
old
were
Madame
very
Liang's
obvious.
affirmation,
She was
Zhao
rejecting Li
Ping was even
Chuiying
more
and
proud.
Feng Zhengxia's
Thus,
help.
she
Li
continued to
Chuiying
dig
and
into the
Feng
rouge
Zhengxia
box.
were a little anxious.
After a while,
Yin'er,
she applied a
wouldn't it
lot
be
of rouge on
faster
her
if we had
face.
2 more people
After
to help
Zhao
us?
Pinger's antics,
Zhao Yin'er
his
chuckled,
face, which
"There's
was
not
already
much work
pale
to
enough,
do. We'll
became
be done
as
in a
pale as
while."
a dead person's
But
face. First
after
auntie,
that,
second
Zhao
auntie.
Pinger did not
If you have
notice
nothing
it at
else
all.
to do,
She
you
still
can rest
thought
at home.
that she looked good with
Third
her makeup.
sister-in-law, you see,
After applying
your
the
eldest
rouge,
sister-in-law,
Zhao Ping,
and I want to
her
help.
continued to apply
Why doesn't
red
your
paper
girl
to
let
her
us?
lips.
That's
Her lips
right.
were bright red.
Could it be that you
and it looked
despise
like
us?
modern lipstick?
Or do you have something against us?
Third sister-in-law,
Thus, Zhao
don't
Ping,
treat our good
final
intentions
makeup
as ill
was a pale
intentions.
face with bright red
Li
lips
Chuiying and
and a
Feng
birthmark on
Zhangxiao
her
were
face.
arguing in Liang
She was
Jinxiao's
originally
ear,
a healthy
which
person,
gave Liang Jinxiao
but now
a
she
headache.
looked like a female
What she
ghost.
didn't understand was
Zhao
why
Ping,
Zhao Yin's
birthmark
could not be covered
and
even
Feng
by the
Zhangxiao
rouge.
help.
Compared
She
with
knew
her
that
pale
Zhao Yin
face,
must
it
have
was
thought of
even
something.
more obvious and
Otherwise,
ugly.
she wouldn't have
After
stopped
seeing
them.
this,
Everyone
Zhao
frowned
fell
in
silent.
annoyance.
First auntie, second auntie. It's understandable that the two of you want to help.
Chapter 1028.
But your
I don't
eagerness
look good.
inevitably
Zhao
makes
Ping
people feel that you're plotting
confusion.
something.
Old Madame
She was
Liang
talking
nodded
to
and
them
said,
nicely and
"Yes,
giving
Pinger,
them face.
you don't look good."
Since they
Why
didn't
don't
want
you
to
wipe
listen,
off the rouge on
then
your
she
face?
didn't need to be polite.
Zhao Pinger didn't believe
After
her
Zhao
and
Yin
insisted,
said this,
"Grandma,
Li Chuiying and
how
Feng
am I not
Zhangxiao
pretty?
were speechless
I think
for a
I look
moment.
pretty good.
What
That's
are we
all."
plotting? Since
You silly
Zhao Pinger
girl.
insisted,
What are you talking
the others
about?
didn't say anything.
Good intentions
However,
don't pay off.
when they saw Zhao
Haha,
Pinger
Zhao
dressed
Yin
up like a
laughed
ghost,
coldly.
They
First
couldn't help
auntie,
but
second
laugh.
auntie, that's
They
enough.
didn't know where Zhao
You don't
Ping
have to
got the
pretend
courage
anymore.
to say that.
There's really
Didn't
no
she look
benefit
in the
for
mirror
you
to
to
see
come
what
back
she looked
and
like?
help our family.
Liang Xinhua looked at her and was very proud.
Chapter 10:10.
Haha, you're so
Oui, oui.
stupid.
You
Aren't
silly
you afraid
girl.
that
We're
men will
just
be
helping
scared to
out.
death if they
Do you
see
think
you
we're
like
the
this?
same as you?
How did we
Fortunately,
take advantage
she
of your
covered her
family?
face with a veil in
Li
advance.
Chuiying said angrily
Once the
with a
veil
red
was put
face.
on,
No
that's
one
right.
could see what
We
Zhao
were
Ping
kind
looked
enough
like.
to help you.
However,
But you
Zhao
said we were
Pinger's
taking
future
advantage
husband
of
would
your
definitely
family.
see Zhao
What do you
Ping
mean?
er's ghostly
Feng
appearance.
Zhangxia also
Liang
said with a
Xinhua
red
was
face.
curious.
Eldest
When the
aunt,
Qin
second
Yuan
aunt,
took off
why
Zhao
are you so
Yin'er's veil?
agitated?
Would he
Since
think that
you're
he
not,
had seen a
that's
ghost?
even better.
Faced with
Eldest
such a
aunt,
face,
second aunt,
how could they
since
continue
the
to
two of you
consummate
didn't
their
help us to
marriage?
take advantage
At
of
this
us.
moment, then let's
Liang
make a deal
Xinhua
now.
felt a little
When the
sympathy
time
for the
comes,
Qin Yuan.
you can't eat the
What she
dishes
didn't
in my
understand
kitchen.
was why a woman
Zhao
like
Yin'er
Zhao
gave
Ping
them a heads
or
up
was
in
willing
advance.
to marry her.
If the two of
Ping,
them really wanted to get up
I'm
later,
doing this for your own
she
good.
wanted to see if
Why
they
don't
still
you
had the
listen to
nerve
me?
to be embarrassed.
Do you really want to get married
Sure
like
enough,
this?
after Zhao
The
Yin'er
more
finished
old Madame
speaking,
Liang looked at
Li
Zhao
Chuiying
Pinger's
and Feng
face,
Zhangxia
the more
suddenly stared at
uncomfortable
each
she
other.
felt.
Not
In the
knowing
end,
what to say,
she couldn't help
Yin
but
er
nag at
silly
Zhao
girl.
Pinger
How
again.
can you be like
Zhao
this?
Pinger frowned.
Your eldest aunt
Grandma,
and I are helping
I put a
you,
lot of effort
but you
into
don't even
dressing
give
up.
us food.
I think it's
Isn't
pretty
this
good.
too much?
Didn't you say
Li
it was pretty
Chuiying
good
asked
just
with
now?
a trembling voice.
Why are you saying it's
That's
not good
right.
now? We don't want
Old
anything
Madame
else.
Liang sighed.
You can't
You
even
could
bear
before,
to give us food,
but now you've
Yin er,
smeared
silly
too much
girl,
on your
this isn't
face.
right.
That's why it
Feng
looks
Zhangxia
weird.
said with some
Zhao
reluctance.
Pinger frowned even
Zhao
more.
Yin'er sneered.
Grandma,
This
eldest
rouge
aunt,
is very
second aunt.
expensive. Our
It would
family
be a
didn't
waste
ask
to
you
wipe
to
it
come
off.
over to help.
Don't worry,
We
just
already
put it on
said
your
that
face.
we don't need your help.
Fine. Since you
Pinger,
insist,
it's your fault for
then you
being
shouldn't ask for
disobedient.
food.
Don't
This
blame us
shows that
later
you
for
didn't come
dressing
over
you
to
up.
help us
Zhao
without
Pinger
asking
grinned.
for anything.
Got it, Grandma.
You still want to take our
I won't
family's
scold
things.
you. That's good.
You silly girl.
Old Madame Liang
That's
nodded.
too much.
After
How
Zhao
dare you
Ping
say that about
finished
us?
dressing up,
If you don't
she
even give us
immediately
food,
covered herself
then
with
what
the
help
red
do we
veil.
have?
She then
That's
sat
right.
on the bed, hearing Li
Waiting for
Chuiying
Qin
and
Yuan
Feng
to pick her
Zhangxia's
up.
nagging.
When she
Zhao
sat on the
Yin'er really
bed,
couldn't stand
she
it
was
anymore.
nervous and excited.
First aunt,
She
second
wished
aunt,
that
I beg
Qin
you,
Yuan
please
could
spare
come
me.
over right away.
Our family
and
didn't
marry
ask
her
for your
as
help.
soon as possible.
Since that's the
After
case,
Zhao Ping
you can go about your
covered
business.
herself with the red
You don't
veil.
have to worry about
the
our
people who
family's
came over
affairs.
to see how the bride
Liang
looked like
Jinxiao
all
sighed
left
one
one
after
after
another.
Chuiying and Feng
Now that they
Zhangxia.
saw the bride's face,
Eldest sister-in-law,
they felt that she was
second
very
sister-in-law.
scary. We have
Ordinary
enough
people
people in our
probably
family.
didn't have the courage
You two
to
don't
face
need
such
to
a
help.
woman.
They
Third
had been here for
sister-in-law.
so many
Why do you
years
say that?
and had seen
I'll
many
listen to
brides.
Yin-er.
Zhao
Liang
Ping
Jinxiao
was
lowered
the
his
most
head and
well-dressed
replied,
but ugly one
"You're
they
an
had
elder.
ever seen.
Why are you
As they
listening
left,
to a
they were
little
still
girl?
chattering.
You have no opinions at all."
In the face of Li
Don't talk
Chuiying
about
and Liang
Pinger.
Jinxiao's
Why
nagging,
did she only get
Liang
married at
Jinxiao
such an
did
old
not say
age?
anything.
Her appearance
Li
was
Chuiying
really
and
too
Feng
shabby.
Zhangxiao were helpless.
Exactly.
After
She's
nagging
not
for a
only
long
ugly,
time,
but she
Zhao
also
Yin'er
smears
and
her
Liang
face like
Jinxiao
a
ignored
ghost.
them.
It's
So
so
they had no
scary.
choice but to give up. Seeing Li Chuiying and Feng Zhangxia enter the room angrily, Chapter
Liang
10:29
Jinxiao
went to Zhao Yin'er
Haha,
and couldn't
it's
help but
mainly
ask.
because Pinger is so
Yin'er,
interesting.
actually, she thinks
It's
she's
okay
pretty.
to ask your first
Some
aunt and
people just
second
don't
aunt
know
to
their
come
place.
over and help.
She doesn't
Right.
even know what
Just
she
give
looks
them
like.
some food.
Why would
When
she
the
waste
time
such a
comes,
good rouge
there
on
will
her
be
face?
a lot of food left
The
in our
rouge
house.
belongs to her. She
It's
doesn't
okay
care
to
to
give
give
them
them
some
some
more
more
food.
food. What can you do? Zhao Yin'er
I
chuckled,
really don't know what
thinking
to
that
do.
Liang Jinxiao
But
was
today
too
is
naive.
really interesting.
Mother,
Haha.
do you really think
I want
that
to
it's
see
okay
how the
to
groom
just give
will
them some
react
food
when he sees the bride?
Liang Jinxiao
I
asked
wonder if he'll
doubtfully,
be as scared as
isn't
we
it?
are.
However, we probably won't be
Chapter
able to
10:11.
see it.
After
With Li
all,
Chuiying and
the
Feng
bride's red
Zhangxia's
veil
greedy
won't be lifted
personalities,
until the wedding night.
a little bit of food wouldn't
Alas, what a
satisfy
pity.
them.
Most
Seeing
of
that
these
there was a
people were
lot of
making
food left
sarcastic
over at their
remarks.
family's banquet.
After all,
They would
Zhao
definitely
Pinger's
think about
flaunting
it.
made them feel
Really
uncomfortable.
Liang Jinxiao
Therefore,
still didn't
they
quite
naturally
believe it.
wanted to see
Mom,
Zhao Pinger
don't
make
think
a
so
fool
much.
of herself.
Anyway,
In the room
whether
of the
it's
third
true
branch,
or not, most of
we
the
don't need their
outsiders
help
had
now
left.
to avoid being
Only the
taken
family
advantage
stayed.
of.
Seeing that
Liang
Zhao
Jinxiao
Pinger was
sighed.
finally going to get married,
All right then.
old lady
She
Liang
couldn't say
couldn't help
anything.
sighing. So she listened
Alas,
to Zhao
I
Yin'er.
finally get to to
This
see
daughter
Pinger
of
get
hers
married.
was quite accurate.
That's great. Under normal
That's right.
circumstances,
It's really not
she
easy
wouldn't
to
let
see
people
Pinger
bully
get
their
married.
family too much.
Sister, you don't
Even
have
if they
to worry
offendedly
about
Pinger
Pinger
anymore.
and Feng Zhangxia.
Wu Zhenju
So be
followed
it.
behind old
This
lady
wasn't
Liang
the
and
first
agreed.
time they had offended
However,
them.
there was a
So they
slight
weren't
difference
afraid
in
at
their
all.
tones.
There would be a
When
lot
old
of work
lady
to be
Liang
done
said
tomorrow.
that,
She
in
sounded
addition to
very
preparing
happy.
these dishes,
But when Wu Zhenju
they also
said
had
that,
to prepare
he sounded
tables
a
and
little
chairs.
jealous. When the
Liang
time came,
Jingxiao smiled.
old Zhao's courtyard
Yeah,
would
it's
definitely
really
be
not
full.
easy for Pinger
For
to
a
get
banquet
married.
of 10 tables,
Today is a big
they would
day.
have to prepare
I have
10
to make
tables.
arrangements for
Their
Pinger,
family only had
so that
one
she
table,
can get married
so
in a
they had to
grand way.
borrow the rest
After
of the
Liang
tables and
Jingxiao
chairs.
finished speaking,
However,
Wu
this was
Zhenju
the
said
case for
sourly,
banquets in the village.
Sister, It was
You really
impossible
married
for
Ping.
every
They're
family
off in
to
a
have
grand
more
way.
than one table
Look at
and
Pinger's
chair.
outfit.
When it came
How
to
many
a big
girls
event
from
like
other
a banquet,
families can dress
they
like
had to
this?
borrow each other's
You're
tables
only willing
and
to
chairs.
spend money on her.
When they return the
Most
tables
people
and
probably
chairs,
won't.
they just
Also,
have to give some
eldest
candy,
sister,
peanuts.
I heard that
or
your
melon
family's
seeds
banquet
to
is going
express
to
their
have 10
gratitude.
tables.
Zhao
We've seen
Wenhua
a
had
lot of
already
happy
discussed
events
with a few
It's
families
really
in the
not
village
easy to
about
have
the
10
tables and
tables.
chairs.
Liang
They just had to
Jinxiao
bring them
smiled
back when the
sheepishly
time
and said,
came.
In
Pinger is
addition to
finally
the
getting
tables and
married.
chairs,
Since
they had
her
to serve
family
the
is able
dishes.
to afford it,
For a banquet
of
of
course
10
we'll do it
tables.
for her.
There would be a lot
Actually,
of
the
people,
total cost isn't
so they
that
also
much.
needed people to
Wu
help
Zhenju
serve the
said with a
dishes.
fake smile.
Zhao Yin'er's
What are
family
you
planned
talking
to let
about?
Zhao Tian'an
You look
serve
so
the dishes.
grand.
But
Her
you
brother
still
was
say that
tall
you
and
didn't
strong,
spend much money,
so he would
It
definitely
seems that
be
your
able to
family
do
has
this kind
really
of
made
work.
a lot of money.
The other one
So
was
you
Zhao
don't care
Tianhu,
about this little
who
bit of money,
volunteered to help
right?
serve the dishes.
Well, it's
Zhao
not
Yin'er
that big of a
naturally
deal.
agreed.
As
It
long
just
as
so
we can live
happened
a
that
good
Zhao
life,
Tianhu
it's
helped.
enough.
So she had
Liang
an excuse
Jinxiao
to
said
ask him to
casually.
stay for dinner.
Of course,
Otherwise,
she wouldn't tell Wu
Zhao
Zhenju
Tianhu
how
would
much
be
money she
embarrassed
had
to
made.
come over to eat,
Precisely
if he
because
saw
Liang
that the rest of
Jinxiao
old
didn't
Zhao's
want to tell
family
him.
didn't eat.
Wu
With
Zhenju
two
wanted to
people
know how
serving the
much money
dishes,
Liang
it was
Jinxiao's
more or
family
less
had
enough.
made.
Yin'er, I'll
Eldest
go and
sister,
borrow a furnace.
what are you talking
Liang
about?
Jinxiao said.
How can we live a
There
good
were
life?
only 2 pots
It's
at
simply
home,
wonderful.
which would definitely
Wu Zhenju
not be
continued.
enough when the time came.
You would have to borrow a
Liang
stove to use.
Jinxiao really
When the
didn't
time
want to
came,
continue talking
the
about
chicken
this
soup
topic,
could be stewed
but Wu
directly in the
Zhenju
stove
wouldn't let it
and
go.
wouldn't occupy
Liang
the pot.
Jinxiao was very
Mother,
distressed.
who are you going to borrow
what her
it
family
from?
was doing,
Zhao Yin'er
and how
asked.
much money they had
I
made
heard
was
that your
their
young
family's
mistress's
business.
family has it.
It had nothing
I'll
to
go
do
over
with
and
other
ask
people.
if she can lend it to us, Liang Jinxiao said. When she heard that it was Zhao Yin'er's eldest
Chapter
grandmother,
1030.
Zhao Yin'er
Second
felt that it was
sister-in-law,
most
it's not
likely
me.
impossible.
It's Yin'er's ability.
It would be
Liang
strange if
Jinxiao
Madame
pushed
was
all the
willing
blame
to lend
onto
it.
Zhao Yin'er.
Seeing Zhao
At this
Yin'er's
moment,
reaction,
Zhao Yin'er
Liang
wasn't in the
Jinxiao
house.
could not help but
Liang
ask,
Jinxiao
"What's
thought
wrong,
that Wu
Yin'er?"
Zhenju would drop
Zhao
the topic.
Yin'er smiled and shook
However,
her head. To Liang
Mother, it's
Jinxiao's
nothing.
disappointment,
Mother,
Wu Zhenju
other
kept
than my
on
young
asking,
mistress's family.
"Oh right, big sister.
Is there no other
If you
family
didn't
that has
mention
a
it,
stove?
I wouldn't have thought
Liang
about it."
Jinxiao thought
Now
for
that
a
you
moment.
mention it, I remember.
Other families
What
definitely
happened to
have
your
it,
family's
but I don't
Yin'er?
know who has
Tell
it.
us about it.
If you want to know, you have to
Liang
go and
Jinxiao
ask.
met Wu Zhenju's
Why don't you go
gossipy eyes
directly to your
and felt
young
a sharp
mistress's
pain in
house
his forehead
and see if she
Oh
can
God,
lend it to
why
us?
was his second
Zhao
sister-in-law
Yin'er
so
sighed.
talkative?
Since that was
She
the
kept
case,
on asking
she
questions,
naturally couldn't say
as if
anything.
she was interested
Mother,
in everything in
you
their
can go and
family.
borrow it.
There were some
But I don't
things that
think young
Liang
mistress
Jinxiao
will lend
really
it to
didn't
us.
want to reveal.
It can't be.
But Wu Zhenju
It's just
asked
a
very
stove.
directly.
Your young
He
mistress
didn't know what
shouldn't
Wu
be so
Zhenju wanted
stingy,
to do,
right?
After
Liang
all,
Jinxiao
she
asked
was
with
his
a frown.
second sister-in-law.
I don't know, Mother.
No matter how
Maybe
annoying
she will.
Wu Zhenju was.
You go and ask
Liang
first.
Jinxiao couldn't
If she
say
doesn't want to
anything
lend
Wu
it to
Zhenju.
us,
Then
he
we
couldn't
don't
not
need
respond
it.
to Wu
All right
Zhenju.
then.
And he
Liang
couldn't make Wu
Jinxiao
Zhenju
nodded.
shut up.
He had to ask
Second
first and give
sister-in-law.
it a try.
Don't ask so many questions.
Big sister
Chapter
is already
10:12.
busy enough
If
today.
she had a stove at
she
home,
doesn't have the
and
energy
someone
to
came to
answer
borrow
so
it
many
from
of
her,
your questions.
she would definitely lend it to them.
couldn't stand
They
it
were
anymore
relatives after
and stood
all.
up for Liang
If she didn't
Jinxiao.
lend them such a
Wu
small
Zhenju
thing,
replied unhappily.
she would really lose
I'm
face.
also concerned about
Of course,
Big
Liang
Sister's family
Jinxiao was
situation.
thinking on the bright side.
Concern is
But Zhao
concern,
Yin'er didn't.
but you can't ask like
After
this.
all, look
Madam
at Big
who had
Sister's
quarreled
headache
with their
now
family
because of
before.
you. It was
Guo Caisha
normal
said
for her not to lend them the stove.
The two
Liang
sisters-in-law
Jinxiao
didn't have
went
a
to
good
Madame Hu's
relationship
house with a
and
tentative
didn't see eye to
attitude
eye with each
and
other.
told her about
Now that
borrowing
there
the
was an
stove.
opportunity to
Madame who
criticize
didn't
each other,
directly refuse
how
to
could
lend
they
it
let
to
it
them.
go?
Instead,
Wu Zhenju wanted
she
to say
talked to Liang
something,
Jinxiao
but was
about her
stopped
conditions.
by old Madame Liang.
Her conditions
Old
weren't
Madame
too
Liang
excessive.
said to Wu Zhenju,
She just wanted them to
second
give her a bowl
daughter-in-law,
of leftover
your
meat dishes
sister-in-law
to
is
her
right.
family after
I
the
think
banquet.
you better not ask.
This was something
If
that
you have
Zhao
any
Yin'er's
questions,
family could
you can
definitely
ask them
do.
slowly after
Liang
Pinger's
Jinxiao
marriage
felt
is
that
over.
it was acceptable and
After
agreed.
all, to
Old
Madame
Madame
Liang was his
a bowl of
mother-in-law.
meat dishes was
In the
worth
Liang
at least
family,
10 copper coins.
the daughter-in-law had
She
to
wouldn't
listen
lose
to her
anything
mother-in-law.
if she borrowed the stove.
No matter how strong
Anyone
Wu
would be
Zhenju
willing
was,
to get a
he
bowl
was
of
still
meat dishes
respectful
for free.
to old Madame Liang.
Seeing Liang
Wu
Jinxiao
Zhenju
bring the
stopped
stove
for a
back, moment,
After
Zhao Yin
old Madame
suddenly
Liang
felt
finished
as if she had
speaking,
seen a ghost.
the family gathered
Mother,
together,
young
and
mistress
continued
actually
to chat
lent it to
casually.
us.
Old
Liang
Madame
Jinxiao
Liang went
smiled
to
and
Liang
said,
Jinxiao
and asked about the situation with Zhao
lending
Ping
it to us.
in-laws.
Your young
After
mistress
all,
didn't agree at
she
first.
didn't live in the same
Later
village
on,
as Liang Jinxiao.
she said that if we were to hold
Old
a
Madame
banquet,
Liang was old,
we would have to give
and it
them
was
a bowl
difficult
of
for
meat
her
dishes.
to move around.
After
Therefore,
Zhao Yin heard
she
this,
didn't know much
she
about
couldn't
Zhao
help but
Yin's
snort
family
coldly.
situation.
She has the
Liang
nerve to ask
Jinxiao
for an
told her about the
exorbitant price.
situation. She
Old
asked for
Madame
a bowl
Liang
of
was
meat
quite
dishes
cold.
just to borrow
Only
something.
then did she understand
Liang
how Zhao
Jinxiao
Ping
was
got
equally
married.
helpless.
It turned out that
There's no
spent money
choice.
to see Zhao Ping.
If she doesn't want
or
to
get
lend
married.
it to us,
This
we won't
kind of
lend
thing
it
was
to her.
really rare.
If we borrow
After
it from
all,
someone else,
no man would
we'll
be willing
definitely
to
be
marry
embarrassed
Zhao Yin with that
and have
face
to
of
give them
hers.
something.
Let's just give them a bowl of leftover
Old Madame
meat
Liang
dishes.
muttered.
It's
Zhao
okay.
Yin
It's thought
okay.
about it and
Ping
felt
can
that
get
it made
married.
sense.
It doesn't matter if the family
they
is
only
poor,
asked for vegetables
as long as the person
and
is
didn't ask
normal.
for an exorbitant
Some girls
price.
even have to
All
marry
right,
a
mother,
fool or a
that's settled
cripple.
then.
In comparison,
mother,
Pinger's
put the stove
family
in the
is
house.
much better.
We still need
That's
it tomorrow.
Right. Liang Jinxiao replied.
Zhao Yun'er said,
marrying a fool
and began
or a
to
cripple was
prepare to
harming
wash
his
the
daughter.
chicken.
The chicken had already been
couldn't do
slaughtered,
such a thing,
plucked a few
even
feathers,
if Zhao Pinger couldn't
and was
get
about
married.
to be cut open.
He wouldn't let
Zhao
Zhao
Pinger
Yun'er
marry
rolled up
someone
her
like
sleeves.
that.
She
That
had
would
to
be
roll them
harming
up
her
high
for the
so
rest
that
of
her
her
sleeves
life.
wouldn't get wet.
After Zhao Yun'er rolled up her sleeves, the golden bracelet that was
Chapter
originally worn on her
1031.
hand
While they were
appeared in front
talking,
of
Liang
everyone.
Jinfen and
Mulan
Liang
and
Jinyu
Mu Hin
came
were
over.
momentarily
Liang
blinded by the
Jinfen's whole
shiny
family
golden
came over
bracelet
to
on
eat at
Zhao
the wedding
Yun'er's
banquet.
banquet.
Nominally,
Mulan's eyes were
it was
attracted
because
by the
Zhao
golden
Pinger was
bracelet
getting
on
married,
Zhao Yun'er's
and
wrist.
it was inappropriate
She
for
asked
her
Zhao
to
Yun'er,
not come as a second
Yun'er,
aunt.
your bracelet is
But
so
in fact,
beautiful.
she just wanted
Is it
to
gold?
eat more.
Zhao
As soon
Yun'er
as Liang
glanced at the
Jinfen
golden
came in,
bracelet
she
on
said
her
to the
wrist.
room.
The corners of her
everyone
mouth
is here.
curved slightly.
Yes,
And she nodded
Wu
in
Zhenju
response.
responded and said to
Yeah,
Liang
it's gold.
Jinfen.
Second
Mulan
sister,
looked at Zhao
your
Yun'er
family
with
is here
envy in
too.
her eyes.
Liang
Yun'er
Jinfen was
so
very
beautiful.
polite to Wu Zhenju.
Such a big golden bracelet
She smiled
must
and said,
be worth a lot of
yes,
money,
isn't this
right?
Pinger's big day?
Zhao Yun'er nodded.
I'm Pinger's second
It should be
aunt.
worth a lot of money.
How could I not come?
However, she didn't
Wu
know the
Zhenju
exact
nodded
price.
and said,
After
That's
all,
right.
it was a gift from
Pinger's
Yuli.
wedding is a big
She
day.
also didn't have
As
the nerve
relatives,
to ask
we should
Yuli
come
how
and
much he
support
paid
her.
for the bracelet.
Haha.
That's
I'm not
why
sure
I'm here
either.
now.
Yun'er,
Second
was it a
sister,
gift from
you
Master
must be
Shitzi?
tired after such a
Mulan
long journey,
gossiped
right?
and asked.
Sit down and
After
rest.
asking, Mulan
Wu Zhenju
continued to
greeted
mutter
her
to
warmly,
herself,
as if
Hey,
he was
hi,
entertaining
look at how I'm
people in his
asking.
own home.
It must be a
Liang
gift from
Jinfen
Master
responded with a
Shitzi.
smile.
Other than Master
Okay,
Shitzi,
let's all take a
who else
rest.
could give you such an
Okay.
expensive gift?
As soon as they sat down, Liang Jinfen looked around curiously.
Chapter 1013.
When he saw Zhao
If she were
Ping,
to say
or
that
he
Yuli
sighed
had
and
given
said,
this to her,
"Oh, Pinger
how
looks
would
so good
Mulan
today."
react?
With
In
that,
order not to let
Liang
Mulan
Jinfen
think
moved
too
closer
much,
to Zhao Ping.
Zhao Yun'er did
to
not
take a good
explain.
look, and
Let
Liang
Mulan
Jinxiao
think
smiled and
that
said,
Mu Yanfeng
Ping,
had given it
is
to
getting
her.
married today.
Mulan stared
Of
at
course,
Zhao Yun'er's
she has
bracelet
to dress up and continue
Naturally,
to look at it.
she has to
Her
look better
expression
than
was
usual.
full of envy. Liang
Yun'er,
Jinfen
you're
responded
the
with a
luckiest
smile.
woman I've ever
Of
seen.
course, you're so
After
lucky
all,
to be with
Pinger is
Master
getting
Shitzi
married today.
Master
Of
Shitzi
course,
is of
she has
noble
to dress
status.
up.
If you're
Liang
with him in the
Jinfen
future,
responded,
no one will bully
of
you.
course.
Pinger
Zhao Yun'er
doesn't have
smiled
it
and
easy.
said,
I'm late and
Sister-in-law
haven't seen how
Mulan,
Pinger looks
you don't
today.
have to be envious
Let me
of
take a
me.
look.
Isn't Brother
As
Eru
Liang
also
Jinfen
quite good?
spoke,
He
you
moved
moved
closer
closer
to
to
Zhao Pinger.
Mulan
He
nodded.
asked Zhao Pinger,
Eru is quite
Pinger,
good.
can I lift your
Apart
veil
from
and
not
take a
having
look?
a status
Zhao
like
Pinger
Master
thought for a
Shitzi,
while and finally
he's not
said,
bad at all.
Okay, second
Zhao
aunt.
Yun'er smiled.
Just one look.
That's enough.
In fact,
These are all external
Zhao Pinger
things.
felt that she should
As long
let
as
more
Eru
people
treats
see her
you and the
beautiful
child well.
appearance.
The
She
most
should let her
important
second
thing
aunt
is
see
that
what
your
she
family
looked
is
like after
happy
dressing
together.
up.
It
Zhao
would be
Yun'er
best
knew
if her
that it was
second
normal
aunt
for
could
Mulan
compliment
to
her
be
when she
envious.
saw her.
When she saw her
Liang
living
Jinfen
condition
walked over
with a
with a
man
smile
like Mu
and
Yanfeng.
lifted Zhao Pinger's
As long
veil.
as it was a woman,
Liang Jinfen
she would
jumped in
probably
fright
want
when
her
she
man
saw what
to
was
be
on the
outstanding
screen.
and perfect.
However,
Liang
Liang
Jinfen
Jinfen
still
screamed
hoped
that
that
fell
Mulan
backward,
would set her mind
seeing
straight
Liang Jinfen
and not
scream,
neglect what she
and
had
the words that
because
came
she
out
was
of Liang
envious of
Jinfen's
others.
mouth.
Actually,
Everyone in the room was
Mulan
stunned
did
at
not
first.
know that she was
Then
also
they all
envious
reacted
of her.
differently.
No matter
Zhao
what,
Pinger was
Zhu Eru
furious.
was a good husband and a
Ghost.
good father.
He called her a ghost.
Mulan was Zhu
coupled
Eru's
with
wife,
Liang Jinfen's
and
reaction.
the two of them could be
Wasn't
together
this too
legitimately.
exaggerated? Although they
Zhao
were not
Ping,
that rich,
or wasn't
they
stupid
were
enough
happy
to
together
think
as
that
a
Liang
family,
Jinfen wasn't
and their
talking
lives were
about
getting
her.
better and
Hence,
better.
she
But
looked
she
at Liang
compared to
Jinfen
Mulan
angrily.
She was a
and
far
complained
cry.
to Liang Jinfen.
Until now, she
Second
still
aunt,
didn't have a
who are you
proper
calling
identity.
a ghost?
And she
After
could foresee
hearing
the
Zhao
difficulties
Pinger's
she
voice,
would face
Liang
when she was with
Jinfen
Mu
realized that
Yanfeng
he
in the
wasn't
future.
looking at a ghost.
In fact,
If
it was
she
Zhao
could,
Pinger.
she would rather
Instantly,
Mu
she
Yanfeng
felt
be an
very
ordinary
awkward.
person.
When the two of them were together, they didn't have to think too much. As long as they worked
Chapter
hard,
1032.
their days would get
After
better
Liang
and better.
Jinfen explained,
Mu Hin quickly
he felt that
responded,
it would be better
Sis,
if he didn't
Yun'er sis is
explain at
right.
all.
Brother-in-law
he
is a good
explained,
man.
The more
You
confused
don't know how
it would
many
be.
people envy you
Zhao
for
Pinger
marrying
pouted
a good
and
man.
asked angrily,
If I were to get
Aunt,
married,
are you blind or something?
I would also want to marry
you trying
someone
to
like
make me angry?
brother-in-law. Pinger,
After
I
being
won't make you
coaxed by
angry
Zhao
on
Yun'er and
purpose.
Mu Hin,
It's just
Mulan felt
your
very
face
happy.
is too white.
That's enough.
And you look
Stop
like a
praising
ghost.
him. I
If
will
you
be
continue
scared
to praise error,
Liang
he will
Jinfen
be
was also
praised to the
somewhat
heavens.
displeased with the
Mulan
sentence
mocked
of
Zhao
ridicule.
Yuner and Mu Hin.
It would be fine
But
if
there
she
was
was
a
just
smile
talking
on her
nonsense.
face.
But what she
Sister-in-law
said was the
Mulan,
truth.
I'm not
How could she
praising
not
him.
tell the truth?
I'm telling the truth.
Zhao Ping,
Or was
that's
simply
right,
an
sis.
idiot.
Brother-in-law
It was fine
is a
if she
good
was
man.
ugly.
It's not
But if
too
she
much to
dressed up
praise him to the
properly,
heavens.
she would at least look like a normal
Zhao
person.
Pinger finished
Now,
peeling
she
the
wasn't
longan
even
and
a
walked
normal
out of the
person,
house,
but
she had
directly
wanted to
turned
greet
into a
Liang
ghost.
Jinxiao.
It was really
Then,
frightening to
she
look
saw
at.
the golden bracelet
Why didn't
on
Zhao
Zhao
Pinger
Yunner's
notice
wrist,
it herself?
and her eyes lit up.
Did she think that she
She
was
walked
beautiful
toward
in
Zhao
this
Yunner.
way?
Her
Zhao
family's
Pinger's attitude
attitude
suddenly became much
Zhao
better.
Ping, dressed up like this.
She
Didn't
smiled at
anyone
Zhao
say
Yunner
anything?
and said, "Didn't anyone
Sister
remind
Yunner,
her?
Where did
How
you
was
get
this
the
marriage?
golden bracelet on
It
your
was
wrist?"
simply frightening.
After Zhao
If the
Yunner
groom
heard Zhao
suddenly
Pinger's
lifted the
words,
red veil,
she couldn't
and
help
saw
but
Zhao
frown.
Pinger's
Why
dignified
did this woman
appearance,
come out of the
he
house
would probably
and
have
see
the
the
same
golden
reaction
bracelet
as
on
her
her wrist?
He would think that he had seen a ghost.
Thinking of this,
Chapter 10,
Liang
14.
Jinfen suddenly
Could it
felt
be
that
that
it was
she had
funny.
taken a fancy
There
to
would
her
definitely
bracelet?
be a good show
Zhao
to watch
Yun'er's
later.
frown deepened.
Mom,
Thinking about
Zhao
it,
Ping,
this
or
was
looked at
indeed a
Liang
possibility.
Jinxiao.
Liang
Somewhat
Jinxiao's
displeased,
eyes
she
moved.
said to Zhao
He
Pinger.
walked forward
Sister
helplessly
Pinger,
and comforted
why do you
Zhao
care so
Pinger.
much?
All right,
What does
Pinger,
it
don't
have
be
to
sad.
do with you where I got
Mom
this
thinks
bracelet?
that you dress up like
In
this.
any case,
Normal
it
people
wasn't
don't
stolen or
dress like
snatched.
this.
Put the
Zhao
veil
Pinger
back
pursed
on.
her lips.
With Liang
Zhao Yun'er,
Jinxiao's
why are you so
comfort,
petty?
Zhao Pinger felt
I'm
much
just
better.
asking a question.
Okay, ask a
Zhao
question.
Ping,
Or
and you're
responded
not telling
softly,
me.
and then put
Zhao
the red
Yun'er
veil
sneered.
back on. Sister
After
Pinger,
Zhao Ping,
what's the point of
covered her
asking
head
this
with the red
question?
veil.
What does it
Liang
have to do with
Jinxiao
you
gave
where I
Liang
got it?
Jinfen a look,
Indicating
if you don't want
that
to tell
Liang
me,
Jinfen should
then don't
stop
tell
talking.
me. Even
Liang
if you don't
Jinfen
tell
had
me,
no choice
I
but
can
to
guess
play
that
along.
Lord Heir must
The
have
other
given
people
it to
in the
you.
room snickered.
Zhao Yun'er rolled
They
her
couldn't be
eyes.
blamed. Sister
They really
Pinger,
couldn't take it
since
anymore.
you already know,
With
why
Zhao
are you still
Pinger's
asking?
appearance,
You,
as long as one
Zhao
was a
Pinger
human,
angrily glared
they
at
would
Zhao
think that she
Yun'er
was a
before
ghost.
suddenly suppressing
She didn't
her
know why
anger.
Zhao Ping
Zhao
or
Pinger's
didn't have that
turned,
kind of
and
self-awareness.
she moved closer to
She
Zhao
still
Yun'er.
felt good about
She
herself,
said to Zhao
even though
Yun'er,
others had
younger
such a reaction.
sister Yun'er,
How
I have
interesting
something to discuss
when
with you.
Liang Jinfen saw
Sister
the others
Pinger,
laughing.
if you have
he
something
laughed
to
as well.
say, just
She
say
thought
it.
that her eldest
Zhao
sister
Yun'er
would dress
replied
Zhao
indifferently,
Ping or up
This
beautifully
Zhao
and
Pinger
marry
had
her
learned
off.
how to make a
If her
fuss.
face was seen
Zhao
by
Pinger
others,
smiled
she would
embarrassedly and
definitely
then
become
said,
a joke
Yun'er,
and be talked
your
about to
golden
death.
bracelet is really
After a
beautiful.
while,
I'm
Zhao
getting
Yun'er
married
smiled
tomorrow.
and Liang Jinyu
When I
came
get
over as
married,
well.
can you lend
Liang
me your
Jinyu's
golden
family
bracelet
only
for a
came
day?
over alone.
After I
They
get
didn't
married,
even bring
I'll
their
return it to
children.
you.
Compared
What do
to
you
when
think?
Liang Jinfen
After
and Liang
Zhao Pinger
Jinyu
came
came
over,
speaking, the
she looked
relatives of the
nervously at
Liang
Zhao
family
Yun'er,
didn't
waiting
pay
for
much
Zhao
attention
Yun'er's
to her.
reply.
They were
When
close
Zhao
to
Yun'er
Liang
heard
Jinfen
this,
because
she couldn't
Liang
help but snort
Jinfen's family
softly.
was well-to-do.
This Zhao Pinger.
She didn't know where she got the cheek
They
to
weren't
actually
so
have
close
the
to
nerve to
Liang
open her
Jinyu,
mouth
because
and
Liang
say such
Jinyu's
things to
family
her.
wasn't well-to-do.
Yun'er, just lend it
The
to
Liang
me for a
family's
day.
relatives
I
were very
definitely won't
snobbish.
break your
They
golden
knew
bracelet.
that if they were close
and
to
I'm
rich
not asking you
relatives,
for it and
they
not
could
returning
still
it
ask
to you.
for help if they
I
were
just
in
want to
trouble
make
in the
myself more
future.
beautiful.
However,
when I get married
if they were
tomorrow,
too close to
Yun'er,
poor relatives,
you can't even bear
they
to
probably
this, can
wouldn't
you?
be able to help
Zhao
them in the
Pinger looked at
future.
Zhao Yun'er
Instead,
anxiously.
they would come to ask
Without
for
waiting
help.
for Zhao Yun'er's
No one
reply.
liked relatives
Zhao
who took
Yun'er were
advantage of
sisters.
others.
You can't
It was
trust
fine if they
others,
didn't get
but
too
do you think I
close to
can't
poor
trust
relatives
you?
in the
After
beginning.
saying this, Zhao Pinger's gaze landed on Zhao Yun'er's bracelet. Usually, Zhao Pinger would
Chapter
definitely not
1033.
say such things.
Nevertheless,
this time,
she still greeted
because
them
she
with a
wanted to beg
smile.
her.
Sister-in-law,
She and Zhao Yun'er
sister-in-law,
acted like
mother.
sisters.
Other
If
than
these
old
words
Madame
were
Liang,
to be said,
the others
how could
only
Zhao
responded
Pinger not
with a
want to
faint
vomit?
sound
And
Ha ha,
ignored Liang
Zhao Yun'er
Jinyu.
sneered.
Naturally,
Sister Pinger,
Liang Jinyu
no one
did
can
not
win
feel
against
good about
you when
this
it comes to
situation.
talking.
She
But
just
you know
smiled
that this
embarrassedly.
bracelet was given
In
to me
fact,
by Master
she was used
Shitsi.
to this kind of
Master
situation.
Shitsi told me not
After
to
all,
lend it to
she
others.
wasn't liked at home.
Yun'er,
Every
every
time
time
she
she
went
went
back to her
were
parents' home,
sisters, so am
her
I other
brothers and
people.
sisters-in-law
Why
would
aren't you
treat
other
her
people?
coldly.
She
Yun'er,
knew the
just
reason.
lend it to me.
It was because
Lend
her
it to me
family
for a
was
day,
too poor.
please. Other
Zhao
people
Pinger
looked
was
down
like
on
a
her
pile of
family.
dog poop.
This was a matter of no disrespect.
Once she stuck to it, she
couldn't get
for
rid
her
of
family
it.
members.
Zhao Yun'er's
Many
frown
people in the
deepened,
village were the
and
same.
her face was
When
filled
they
with
saw her
disgust
family
and
members, they
impatience.
didn't like her.
Zhao Pinger, are
Liang
you done yet?
Jinxiao went
I won't
forward
lend
and
it
asked
to you.
Liang Jinyu.
Don't bother me.
Jinyu,
There are so
are you
many
the only
things
one
that I
who
can't
came from your
finish.
family?
But you're here
Why
to
didn't
meddle.
the others come?
Zhao Yun'er
Old
said
Madame
unhappily.
Liang also asked.
Yes, Jinyu. Why are you the only one
Chapter
who came?
10:15.
Where are your family
Little Ping,
members? Why do you want
Liang
to borrow
Jinyu
it?
smiled and
Isn't
said,
it good enough to wear
Mother,
the wedding dress?
it's fine for me to
you
come
don't
alone.
need the gold bracelet
Why are
to
they here?
embellish it. Won't it be
Liang
troublesome for
Jinxiao
eldest
said.
sister's
Zhao
family to
Pinger shook her
entertain
head
one
and
more
said,
person?
Mother,
Don't
that's
all the
different.
people who come here
The
to
wedding
drink
dress
alone
is the wedding
who
dress,
would bring their whole family
and the gold
here.
bracelet is the
After
gold
Liang
bracelet.
Jinyu finished
The
her
wedding
words,
dress looks good.
the other people
But
in
if
the
I
room
can wear
felt
such
their
a golden
faces begin
bracelet
to
when I
burn
get
with
married,
pain.
whether
Then
it was
others will
Zhao
see it,
Yun'er's eldest
and it will
uncle
be
or
very
second
impressive.
uncle,
Or
Liang
Zhao Jinxiao
Jinxiao
said
said
with a frown.
They all came with a
Pinger,
lot of people.
if you wear the gold
Liang
bracelet,
Jinyu's
others
words
won't
were a
see
slap
it.
to their faces.
It's not in your sleeve.
She said that they brought
Mother,
too
I
many
can roll
people table in front of Liang Jinxiao. Just like Yin or now.
Liang
Jinfen's mouth twitched. After Zhao Ping finished speaking, Liang Jinxiao's expression was very complicated.
How can it be the same?
Or couldn't help but roll her eyes.
Is getting married.
This idiot
all
actually
of us
wanted
relatives
to do
have
this.
to come.
Wasn't she
After
afraid of
Liang
being
Jinfen
beaten up
said
for
that,
flaunting her
Liang
wealth?
Jinyu couldn't help
Forget
but
it.
say,
Pinger,
but Jinyu,
what's the point of
you
doing
didn't say
this?
that before.
You'll be laughed at
when
by
your
others
younger
if you
brother
do
got
it.
married.
Zhao Pinger
I went with
pouted.
my husband,
Mother,
and you even
you're just
scolded
biased
me.
towards Zhao Yun'er,
After Liang
not letting
Jinyu
them
finished
lend it to
speaking,
me. Liang
Mother,
Jinfen's
I'm about to get
expression
married,
froze,
and
and
your
his smile
smile
froze. Being
Zhao
slapped
Yun'er
in the
looked at
face
Zhao
like
Ping,
this, or
Liang
as if she was
Jinfen
looking
didn't
at a
know what to
retard.
say. Thinking back
Yin,
to the
I
past,
beg you, don't talk
it did
nonsense.
seem to be the case.
Even if mother says
She
it,
didn't
I
think
won't
that
lend
Liang
it to you.
Jinyu would still
Why are you
remember
so stingy
and mention it directly.
So what if I'm stingy? You're
I,
too evil.
Liang Jinfen
Idiot.
didn't know what
Zhao
to
Yin
say all of
glanced
a
at
sudden.
Zhao Ping'er and complained.
That's enough, little sister.
She really didn't want to
We're all
talk
family,
to a retard.
not outsiders.
It was really tiring to
Liang Jinxiao
communicate
said,
with them.
trying to diffuse
Zhao
the
Yin,
situation.
Yeah, haha.
Forget
Liang
it if you
Jinfen
don't want to
smiled
lend it to
awkwardly.
me. In the
Do you
room
think
of
I
the
care?
third branch,
When I have
the
the
women
money,
gathered
I'll
together
buy it
and
myself.
liked to chatter.
Zhao
Ping
Ping'er
said angrily,
sat in the room
then
and
turned
waited
and entered
anxiously.
the room of the third
While
branch.
waiting, she muttered,
There was a reason
Mother,
for her to say
why
this.
isn't Brother Yuan
After
here
all,
yet?
She
His
was
big
still
brother
planning
Yuan
to
not
set up a
coming?
stall with Ma
When people
Xiaofeng.
were anxious,
Once he
they
succeeded,
liked to let their
he would
imagination
definitely be
run
able to
wild.
earn a lot of money.
Zhao Ping'er was
When
like
she
that.
had money,
Seeing
she
that
would buy
Qin
all
Yuan
kinds of
hadn't come for
jewelry
a
to
long
dress
time.
herself up.
She began to
After
guess.
dressing herself up beautifully, Qin Yuan would
Liang
definitely
Jinxiao
like
walked
her when
over
he
and
saw
comforted her.
Zhao Yin
Little
looked at
Ping'er,
Zhao
don't
Ping,
worry.
back
It's
as she
not
left.
time yet.
She
What are
felt
you
that
talking
Zhao
about?
Ping was just
You said it
daydreaming.
yesterday.
Yinner,
Even if you
don't
want to
take
go
out
back
the golden
on your
bracelet
words,
on your
you
hand
won't go
so
back
easily
on your
in the
words
future.
so soon.
What if someone
Zhao
steals
Ping'er
it from
pouted
you?
her lips.
Mulan thought
Mom,
for a while
I'm just doing
and
it.
reminded Zhao Yun'er. After all, Zhao Yun'er's bracelet was not ordinary. Zhao Yun'er's
Chapter
golden bracelet
1034.
was really too
All right,
eye-catching.
Ping'er, don't worry.
Okay, my
Qin Yuan
sister-in-law
will definitely
I
come.
know. You have
If I
to
don't
wait for
wash
a
it,
while.
I won't easily
How about
reveal
this?
it.
I'll cook something for you first.
In the afternoon.
It's going to take
The
a long
third
time
branch
today.
was as busy as
If
a
you're
raging
picked up,
fire.
Your
The
husband's family
construction
might
of the
not give you
foundation of
anything
Zhao
to eat.
Yun'er's house
Liang
had been
Jinxiao cared
temporarily
about his
suspended
daughter.
for the past
He
2
knew
days.
that getting married was
After
not
all,
an easy thing.
Zhao Wenhua
If she
had
didn't
to be
eat well
busy
now,
at home,
she would
and
be
couldn't
hungry for
handle
the
the
whole
construction
day.
of the
When the
land.
bride was
At
picked
3
up,
or 4
her
o'clock,
husband's
Zhao
family would
Wenhua
make a fuss.
and Zhao Tianan
They
came
wouldn't
back
know
from
whether the bride
outside.
had eaten or was hungry. When Zhao
Therefore,
Tianan saw
before the
Mu-hen,
bride
he
got
was slightly
married,
excited.
her husband's
He went up
family
to
would
Mu-hen
ask her if she
and
wanted
smiled
to
at
eat
Mu-hen
something to fill her
Mu-hen,
stomach in
you're
case
here to
she
help
was
too?
hungry.
Zhao
Ping
didn't
Mu-hen
care
nodded
about Liang
heavily,
Jinxiao's
but there was a
concern at
touch
all.
of shyness on
Zhao
her
Ping'er
face.
replied unhappily.
She didn't dare to look
Mom,
at Zhao Tianan.
I don't want to eat.
Thank you
Mom,
for coming to
I'm
our
waiting
house
for
to
Brother
help.
Yuan now.
Zhao Tianan
I'm
said
not in the
gratefully.
mood. You're
Liang
welcome.
Jinxiao said
Mu-hen
helplessly.
said shyly.
All right then.
Zhao Tianan
Ping'er,
squatted
if you're
together.
hungry, don't blame me for
I'll
not
help
eating
too.
with you in advance.
Zhao Yun'er didn't say
Mom,
anything to Zhao Tianan.
what are you talking
and
about?
let Zhao Tianan
I'm not
help.
blaming you.
If I'm really hungry later, I'll tell
Chapter
my mother-in-law.
10:16.
She'll
His younger
definitely
brother
cook
didn't
something
seem
for
to
me.
be good at picking
All right,
up
all right.
girls.
If you're
He was
hungry,
really bad
you
at
can
picking
tell her
up girls.
yourself.
How
Don't
could he
keep
please
quiet
a girl
when
like
you're
this?
hungry. He thought
I
that
know,
if
Mom.
Zhao Tianan
I'm
was
not
also
stupid.
interested in
That's
Mu-hen,
good.
should
Zhao
he
Ping
teach his younger
sat
brother
in the
how to
house
pick up
and
girls?
waited anxiously.
After all,
While Zhao Yun'er was
Tianan
busy
was
preparing
really
the
too
banquet
old-fashioned
outside.
and dull.
There were
When
a
they
lot
were
of
almost
preparations
done,
for the banquet
Mulan
at
and
noon.
Mulan went
The
back.
chicken was already
Zhao
stewed
Yun'er
in the
didn't
pot,
ask them to stay
and
for
the other
dinner.
dishes were already
After all,
cut.
Mu-hen
Once the
had to go
banquet
back
started,
and prepare food
these
for
dishes
Zhu
could be
Eru and the
poured into the
children
pot
because there were many
quickly.
ingredients.
It could speed
Zhao
up the
Yun'er
serving of the
prepared a more
dishes.
sumptuous meal
Zhao
for
Yun,
dinner.
or only
The meat
wanted
was
to get
directly
busy as
fried
soon
on a
as
plate,
possible,
and there was
so that
also
she
meat
wouldn't
pie
be in a
soup.
hurry.
When
When the
Zhao
banquet
Yun'er saw the
started,
meat pie soup,
there were quite a lot
she
of
couldn't
people
help
in
but
old
swallow
Zhao's
her
courtyard.
saliva.
The
She
women
liked
in the
to eat
village
this
went
kind
to
of
Zhao
food,
Yun,
but it was more
to join in the
troublesome to
fun and
make.
chat.
So she
There
didn't
weren't
get to
many
eat
ways
it
to
often.
entertain in the
This
village,
time, and a
because it was
lively
a
event
banquet,
like a wedding was
she
even
specially
rarer.
put in a lot of
Therefore,
effort to make it.
Zhao Yun'er's
There
family
weren't
had
many
many
ingredients,
talents, but she had to cut the meat into small pieces
and did not
and
have
then
the
use a
time
small
to talk
hammer
like
to
the other
hammer the
women.
meat into a pie
Seeing
shape.
that no one had come
This
to
took
pick
a
up
lot
the
of
bride,
effort.
Mulan
In
went
addition,
to Zhao Yun'er
after
and
blowing
said,
the meat into a pie
"Yun'er,
shape,
why hasn't
she
your
spread a
sister's
layer of
in-laws
flour
come
on
yet?"
it. When
It's
eating,
almost time.
she directly added
Mulan
a little
went
oil
to
to
Zhao
the
Yun'er
pot,
and said,
boiled some
Zhao
water,
Yun'er shook her
and
head
then
and
put
said,
the meat pie in.
"I don't know.
When the meat pie
Yun'er,
was cooked,
I don't
she
want to
added
say
other
this,
seasonings.
but your sister
Finally,
Ping'er's
when she
in-laws
took it
are
out of
really
the pot,
unreliable.
she just
They
had to
still
sprinkle
drag
a
on
handful
such an
of
important
chopped
event
green
like the
onions.
wedding.
However,
Zhao
the
Yun'er
meat pie
replied
was very
helplessly,
chewy and
"What
tasted
should we
better
do?
than ordinary
They don't
meat.
want to marry my
because
sister
there were
Ping'er. many preparations.
Alas,
Zhao
the
Yin'er's
wedding is
family
already
also
like
ate a
this.
lot.
If she
The meat
marries
pie
over,
didn't come out of the
she will
pot,
probably be
but
even
it
more
emitted
disliked.
a strong fragrance.
Zhao Yin'er nodded.
The third branch of the
course,
family
but
ate
it's
happily,
better if she's
but old
disliked.
Zhao's family
I'm
didn't
afraid
eat
that
well.
they will like her.
They didn't prepare much
Zhao
food
Yin'er's
for dinner.
words made Mulan
It was
laugh.
just some wild vegetables without oil. Even the rice was mixed
Yin'er,
with some
what you said
miscellaneous
is really
grains.
interesting.
There was no
I'm
white
telling
rice
the
to
truth.
eat.
Our
From time
family
to
is
time,
too good to my
the
sister
fragrance from
Pinger
Zhao
and
Yin'er's
spoils her.
kitchen made old
If my
Zhao's
sister
family
Pinger
hungry.
marries into
Li
another
Chuiying
family,
couldn't help but
she will know
swallow
what
his
it's like.
saliva. When he thought that Zhao Yin'er's family could eat good food, but they couldn't, Li Chuiying panicked. Chapter
He originally
1035.
planned to help so
Her
that he could
mother-in-law's
eat.
family was
Now,
different
because of
from her
Zhao Yin'er,
mother-in-law's
he couldn't
family.
eat now.
She had to
Mom,
listen to her
our
mother-in-law.
food is really bad.
She remembered
When can
that
we
when
buy
she had
some
just
meat?
married into the
Li
family,
Chuiying swallowed
she had
a
been
few
tortured
mouthfuls
by
of
Mrs.
saliva,
Zhu and asked
she had to do all
kinds of hard work.
Eat.
Otherwise,
You don't
she
need
would
to
be
pay.
scolded to
We
death
don't have
by
money
Mrs.
now.
Zhu,
And you
she
still
could bear
want to eat
hardships
meat.
and
Why
cooperate
don't
with
you
her
go eat
mother-in-law.
shit?
But
Li
Zhao
Chuang
Ping'er was too
retorted
lazy to do
indignantly.
anything in her
Mother,
mother-in-law's
who would eat
family.
shit?
If
As
she
long
didn't
as
do
they don't
anything
eat
in her
shit.
mother-in-law's
Meat.
family, she would be scolded to death.
Hu Chanhua
While
snorted.
they were chatting,
Then you're smart
they saw
now.
a group of people
I thought
coming
you would
over.
say that shit tastes
It was the
better.
family of Qin
The
Yuan.
other people at the
However,
table couldn't help
when
but
the
snicker.
family of Qin Yuan
Especially
came
the
over,
first branch.
they only asked
Feng
people
Zhangxia
to
felt
carry a
proud when
broken
she
sedan
saw that Li
chair.
Chuang was
The
so
sedan
familiar
chair
with
looked
Hu
very
Chanhua.
shabby,
This
as
idiot.
if it was made from somewhere. Half
She
of the
should be
sedan
scolded.
chair was broken.
Shen Pan.
They probably
didn't
didn't
have
have
much of an
enough money to
appetite.
rent it.
After
So
hearing
they
Hu
used this
Chanhua's
kind of
words,
sedan
she
chair
couldn't
that
eat
no
anymore.
one else wanted.
A country
When the
bumpkin
people
was
who
indeed
came
a
to
country
pick up the
bumpkin.
bride came over,
Even when eating
they
at the
heard the
dining
sound
table,
of a gong.
they could still talk about
the people
eating
who
shit.
came to pick up the
Could
bride
it be
are
that
here.
they were not afraid
They're
that
here.
others would not
They're
be able
finally
to eat
here.
it?
They've
However,
been waiting for
Hu
so
Chanhua
long.
was her elder.
Once the family
so
of
Shen
Qin
Pan
Yuan
couldn't
came
scold
over,
Hu Chanhua.
the crowd who
No
wanted
matter
to join
how
in the fun
uncomfortable she
immediately
felt,
looked
she
over.
suppressed it.
Zhao Yun'er and Mulan also stopped what they were doing and
Chapter
looked in the direction of
10:17.
Qin Yuan.
Country
As
bumpkins
the groom
were
today,
a characteristic
Qin
of
Yuan
country
was wearing a
bumpkins,
red groom's
especially
suit.
old Zhao's
However,
family.
the groom's
He
suit
could
looked
tolerate
very
it
old.
only if they didn't
It
eat
didn't
well.
look new.
But
If
he
Zhao
couldn't stand
Yun'er
their
knew that
nauseating
Qin Yuan's
chatter.
groom was worn
She would
by
return
Qin
to her
Dashan when he
maternal
got
home
married
in a few
what
days
would
to
she think?
recuperate.
However,
Fortunately,
although his clothes
she didn't
were a
have
little
to endure
old,
it for too
Qin
long.
Yuan was handsome.
She just had to wait
so
for
he still
Zhao
looked
Tianlong
very elegant
to pass the
He was
scholarly
very good-looking.
examinations.
After
She
the
would have
crowd saw
something
the
to look
appearance
forward
of Qin
to,
Yuan,
and she wouldn't
they
feel
began
too
to whisper
hopeless.
to each other.
Mother,
Let's
what
not
are you
talk
saying?
about other things.
Li Chuang
The
felt
groom
very
today is
embarrassed
really
after
handsome.
being scolded by Hu
Yeah,
Chanhua.
I've never seen such a handsome man before.
I'm speaking in human
It seems
language.
that Ping
Don't tell
took
me you don't
advantage of the
understand.
situation.
Li Chuang
She thought that
pursed
her
her
groom
lips
was
and
also
muttered,
ugly.
Mother,
Now that
in
I've
front
seen
of
it,
so many people,
I finally know
her
why
mother was
Pinger
really
can't
too
wait to
much.
get married.
She spoke
Seeing
without
such a
thinking.
handsome little
She
husband.
didn't hold back at
She
all.
wants to be
and
taken
didn't
back
give
to
her
the
any
bridal
face
chamber
at all.
as soon as
Although she
possible.
knew that Hu Chanhua was
That's
used
right,
to
but why
speaking
did you
like
bring
this in
such a
front of the
broken
whole
palanquin
family
over?
She still
Everyone
felt
in the family
uncomfortable.
is dressed so shabbily.
Mother, can you stop
They must
talking?
be poor.
You eat
No
sh
wonder.
asterisk tea
He
all
probably
day and I
can't
can't
find a
eat
wife.
anymore. So he came here to marry Ping.
threw her chopsticks
That
away
should be it.
and complained
Haha,
angrily
that's
to
right.
Hu Chanhua.
Otherwise, with
Okay,
such a
okay,
handsome
okay.
face,
It's mother's
it would
fault.
be very easy
Mother
to find
won't
a
talk
wife.
about it, okay?
His family is probably
Chanhua
too poor.
saw that Zhao
How could
Xinhui
an
was
ordinary
about to get
family
angry,
bear to let their
so she
daughter
quickly
marry
shut her
into
mouth
a poor
and said,
family and suffer?
Zhao Xinhui still
Speaking
snorted
of which,
unhappily.
this Ping,
The
her
food
girl
at
is
home
dressed
is so
nicely.
disgusting. If she
Third
uses
brother's
this
food
kind of
smells
sedan
so
to
good.
receive her in-laws,
Mother,
I want to
wonder
eat
what
third
they will
brother's
think.
food.
What can she think?
Chanhua looked at Zhao
It's not like
Xinhui
she doesn't know
helplessly.
that her
Your
mother-in-law's
mother
family
wants
is
to eat
poor,
it too,
but I can't.
Your third brother and third sister-in-law
Since
are
she's
very
willing
petty.
to marry over,
They won't let
she
us eat
naturally
it.
knows. Zhao
It's fine as
Xinhui's
long as
expression
Ping'er
was
doesn't
cold,
complain.
and she didn't speak.
Yes, as
Hu
long as
Chanhua
Ping'er
quickly
doesn't
continued
complain
to
and
coax
is
her.
happy, it's fine.
All right, Huier, how
Haha.
about this? The
Mother
gossipers
will
chattered
buy a
one
caddy of
after
meat
another.
tomorrow,
And
Zhao
let you
Yun
eat it alone.
squinted her eyes to
Only
look
then
at
did
Qin
Zhao
Yuan's
Xinhui's
family.
mood improve.
Seeing Qin
Mother,
Yuan's
really?
long face,
Of course it's
she
true.
knew that he didn't seem
Mother,
to be
all right
happy.
then.
It was
Zhao
understandable.
Xinhui seemed to accept
It would be abnormal
reluctantly.
if he was
The
happy
other
to marry
members of
such
old
an
Zhao's
ugly
family
woman
were
like
not
Zhao
happy.
Ping'er.
Mother, can we eat even if little sister eats it? Why don't you buy an extra caddy of meat
Chapter
while you're at it?
1036.
Li Chuang
The corner
said
of Zhao
unwillingly.
Yun'er's mouth
Just
twitched,
thinking about what
and
Hu
she said
Chanhua
indifferently,
had done made him angry.
That's my sister
How could
Ping'er's
she do
business,
this?
not me.
Zhao Xinhui
The family
didn't
Qin
say
is
anything
poor,
when she
and
brought
they
it
don't
up and
care about
scolded
Sister
her.
Ping'er.
But she was the one
Naturally,
who brought it up.
They won't be willing to
What are you
spend
talking
money
about?
to rent a good
Hu
sedan
Chanhua
chair.
glared at Li Chuang
Sigh.
again.
That's really stingy.
You talk too much.
When your sister
The others
Ping
didn't say
marries
anything,
into that
but you
family in the
did.
future.
Your little sister's body is
80%
weak
sure that
and
her
needs to
in-laws
be
won't
nourished.
treat her well.
What are you guys
Zhao
yelling
Yun'er
about?
pursed her lips.
With that, Hu
Sister-in-law
Chanhua continued
Mulan,
to glare at
don't
Li
worry
Chuang
about it.
and said,
I already said that it's best
if you
that
want
way.
to eat meat,
Haha, okay,
you have to
okay.
wait until
Let's
Jing'er
not talk
gets
about
married.
it.
She'll
Let's take
send
a
money
rest
over
and
as
watch
a
the
gift
show for a
before we
while.
have the money to buy
Zhao
meat.
Yun'er responded.
Now that the family
As
is
the family
almost empty,
people walked
we should
closer.
save as much as
The
we
sound
can.
of the gong also became louder.
At the
The
mention
Liang
of Zhao
family
members
members in the
marriage,
room hurriedly
Hu
said,
Chanhua
glanced
Ping,
at Zhao
your
Jing'er.
husband is here.
Didn't you say that
He's
young
already in
Master
the
Zheng was
courtyard.
going to marry
He's
Jing'er?
he's here.
We entertained them
As
with
these
chicken
chicken
and
spoke,
meat. Zhao
but
Ping,
now there's not
couldn't
even a
hold back
trace
her
of them.
excitement and
We
asked
probably
patiently,
won't be able
really?
to recoup
It's
the money
true.
we've invested.
Little Ping,
Hua
or
Chunhua
listen,
said angrily.
the sound of the gong
She
is
was
really
very
loud.
displeased and her
Zhao
tone
Ping,
was very
stretched
harsh
her ears to
and had a
listen
hint
for
of
a while.
sarcasm.
It was true.
After she said
Ge
that,
Juan really
the
came.
expressions of the
He really
second
came.
branch didn't look
That's
too
great.
good.
It
Zhang
seems
Qian
that
didn't
Ge
mention
Juan
this at
didn't
first
come so late
because he was
because
very
he ran
anxious.
away from the marriage.
Now that Hua
Zhao
Chunhua had
Ping,
mocked him,
quickly
he
jumped
even
up from the
worse
bed
and looked like she was about to run out.
Liang
Chapter
Jinqiao
10:18.
saw that
Hua
and
Chunhua
hurriedly
snorted.
pulled Liang Jinqiao
All right,
back.
if he really
He said
wanted
to
to
Zhao
marry
Ping,
her,
he
he
would
would
have
have
come
come
to
to
our
our
house
house
to talk about it
Mother,
a long time ago.
didn't you say that
Why would you
Ge Juan
wait
is
until
here?
now?
I'm going out
guessing
now
that
to see
this
Ge
marriage
Juan
is most
and
likely
leave
a
with him.
failure. After
The
Zhao
reason why
Ping
Lord
said
Zhang
that,
hasn't
Liang
rejected him
Jinxiao couldn't
yet is
help
that
but
he has
twitch
asked
the
the
corner
corner
of
of
his
his
mouth
mouth
to find a
He
girl
said
from
to Zhao
another
Ping,
family.
As long as the
Pinger, are
girl
you kidding?
agrees,
Nonsense.
Zhang Qian won't come to
Zhao
Jinger.
Ping.
After
Looked at Liang
Huo said
Jinxiao
that,
in
the second
confusion
branch
and
fell
asked Liang
silent.
Jinxiao.
In fact,
Mother,
they had
I'm
the
going
same
out.
guess as Huo
How is that nonsense?
If he really wanted
I can't
to marry
let
her,
Gijuan wait
he
for
would have
too
come
long.
to talk about it with
After
the betrothal
Zhao Ping
gifts.
finished speaking.
But even so,
Liang
the
Jinxiao
second
couldn't help
branch
but
was
say,
still looking forward
Pinger,
to it.
You really
I don't
long
know
as
any
Zhang
rules.
Qian didn't
How
give
can
them
you
an
be like
official
this?
reply.
No rush,
It
no
meant
rush.
that it was possible.
Let's wait for that
Zhang
child
Qian was such a good
to come
man,
over first.
and it was hard to find
Mom,
a girl like him.
Zhao Pinger looked
Otherwise,
very anxious.
The second branch of the
brother
old
Yuan
Zhao family,
after waiting
would have
for a
asked
long
the
time
matchmaker to
Don't
find
worry,
another
he
family
won't.
for Zhao
It's fine if you
Xinhui.
get married.
Mom, it hasn't
but you
been
have to follow
decided
the
yet.
rules.
Jinger
Aren't
is a
you
good
afraid
girl,
of being
and
laughed
she's
at
very
when you
pretty.
get married?
It's rare to
Liang
find a girl
Jinxiao
like
said
Jing,
helplessly,
or in the nearby
if it weren't
villages,
for her
right?
stopping her,
What Zhao
thought
Ping,
about it,
or would probably
was
have
true.
really rushed
Not
out of
to the
mention
room.
other things.
Well,
Zhao Jinger's
Mother,
face
I'll
was
wait
really
for a while
impeccable.
more.
It was
Zhao
very
Pinger
beautiful.
said bashfully.
Haha, let's
When
wait
she
and
sat
see.
back on the bed,
If Lord Jing doesn't
Zhao
come,
Pinger
you'll
felt
cry.
as if she was performing
Huo said
acupuncture.
sarcastically.
Her heart had
The
long
second
flown
branch
out,
sat straight
and she
with
was
a touch
eager
of
to
blush
leave
on
with
their
Qin
faces,
Yuan as soon as
especially
possible.
Zhao Jing.
Zhao Ping,
She lowers
her
attitude
head under the
inevitably
table.
became a
She
joke
might
in the
as well
eyes of
find a
others.
hole and
The
bury
Liang
herself in
family
it.
covered their mouths
Seeing
and
the second
snickered.
branch's
They
face
had
being
seen
slapped.
unreserved girls
The
before,
generous person
but
felt
they
a
had
burst
never
of
seen a
joy
girl
in
as
his heart,
unreserved as Zhao
especially Feng
Pinger.
Zhangxia. Before, Li Chuiying thought
Thinking
that
about
Zhao
Liang
Jing
Jinxiao
could get
and
married,
Zhao Wenhua,
so he always
they
showed
felt
off
really
in front of
tired
her.
to have such a
His
mentally
daughter was going
retarded
to
daughter
marry
to
a good
worry
man
about
and
Guo
live a happy
Caixia
life
said
with
a
him in the
smile.
future.
Since the
During
person
that
who
time,
came to pick up the
Feng
bride is
Zhangxia was
here.
annoyed by Li
Let's go out
Chuiying,
and go through the
but
procedures.
she didn't know how to scold Li
Yes, let's
Chuiying.
go.
Now the
Saying
reality
that,
had
the people in the
changed
room
and she
went
was
out.
slapped in the face.
Whether it was Zhao
How could
Yinner's
she not
aunts
be
or
happy?
cousins,
They
haha,
all
go
walked
ahead
out
and show off.
curiously. This is what happens when you show off. She wanted to see if Li Chuiying would still show off in front of her. Chapter
Feng
1037 added
1037.
insult to
As
injury.
the saying goes,
Second sister-in-law.
what kind of person is
What
matched
mother
with
said
what kind
is
of
not
person?
unreasonable.
With Zhao
You'd
Pinger's
better not
ugly
expect
appearance.
too much.
She could
Hurry
only
up
be
and
matched
find
with
another
an
husband for
incomparably ugly
Jinger.
man.
Don't delay
But
it.
after seeing them,
After
they
Feng
realized
Zhangxia
that the
finished
truth was
speaking,
completely
Li
different
Chuiying
from what
glared
they
at
had
her
imagined.
angrily.
They
Knowing
saw
that
that
Feng
among the men
Zhangxia's
who came
words
to
were
receive
laced
the
with
bride,
jealousy.
there was a very
Sister-in-law,
handsome
this
man
is
wearing
Jinger's
a red
business.
wedding robe.
You don't have to
This
worry
man was
about
much
it.
better looking
Oh,
than the
second
average man in the
sister-in-law.
village.
What are you talking
When they
about?
saw Qin Yuan,
I am also
their
Jinger's
first
aunt.
reaction was that
I
he
will
was
definitely
good-looking.
worry about
Their
Jinger's
second
marriage.
reaction was that
Feng
an ugly
Zhangxia
woman
said
like
with
Zhao
a fake
Ping
smile.
could
Haha,
actually
Li
marry such a
Chuiying
good-looking
sneered.
man.
She was
It was
obviously
like a fresh
making fun of
flower
her
stuck in
family,
cow dung.
but she made it
Ping,
sound so
or
nice.
Jia's husband is really handsome.
But then
Liang
again,
Xinzi
if
sighed
Yinner
after
didn't
seeing
get
him.
involved in
Liang
Jinger's marriage,
Xinyue's heart was
it
filled
would
with
probably
jealousy.
be successful.
I say
Feng
Zhangxia
Zhangxia said,
you're staring
the
at
reason
a man
why
and
she
still
said
saying
this was
such
to make the
things.
second branch
Don't you know
angry
what shame is?
and sow discord
Liang
between the
Xinzi's
second
mouth
branch
curved.
and Zhao
I'm telling
Yinner.
the truth,
If
so
Li
what?
Chuiying was
The
stupid
man I'm
enough
looking
to
at
cause
isn't
trouble
some other
for
man,
Zhao Yin,
but
Ping or Jia's
then
husband,
there would be a good show to
then
watch.
you can't look at him.
After Feng
Why are you
Zhangxia
staring
finished
at
speaking,
Ping or Jia's
Liang
husband?
Jinxiao's
Could
face
it be that you
darkened
want to
even more.
snatch him? Facing Liang Xinyue's aggressive words, Liang
Chapter
Xinzi was too
1019.
lazy to argue
After
with Liang
Huo Chenhua
Xinyue.
said that,
The
you or
second
Jia,
branch felt
I'm
even
not as
worse.
dirty as you think.
Grandma,
I'm just happy
Zhao
for
Jinger
Ping or
didn't know
Jia.
what to say.
After all,
she could
such
only
a
lower her
good-looking
head
man
and feel
can't be
even
married
worse
to most people.
When Li Chuiying
Liang
saw her
Xinzi's
daughter's
words
words
were
were
very
very hypocritical.
She couldn't
in
help
Liang
but defend
Xinyue's
herself.
eyes. That's
Mother,
enough, big sister.
how can my
Zir.
family's Jing
Stop pretending.
or be compared to
You're
that
just
girl
envious
Yinner,
of Ping.
That
or
girl
Jia.
Yin, is
I
very
reckon that she
powerful
also
and
wants
is
to
best
marry
at
such a
seducing
handsome
men.
man.
My
Liang
family's
Xinzi
Jing
chuckled.
is a
When did I
well-behaved
say
girl
that?
and can't
You
do
or
such a
Jia.
thing.
Don't speak
All right,
nonsense.
stop making excuses.
Could it be that it's not true?
Chenhua replied
Am I
unhappily.
the only one who knows?
Li Chuiying wanted
Why
to
is
say
it that
something,
little sister
but she
you
didn't know
has
what to
become
say.
a roundworm in
She
my
was still
stomach
guilty
and knows better
it was
than
useless
I do.
to argue about
Keep
it now.
being stubborn.
return.
Mother,
Liang
I'm full.
Xingyue snorted
I'm going back
and
to my
continued
room.
to look at Qin
Zhao
Yuan.
Jing'er couldn't stay
Although
any
Qin
longer.
Yuan was quite
She
handsome,
put the bowl and
his
chopsticks
family was
on the
too
table.
poor.
Got
They
up and
actually
left.
came to pick up
Looking
the
at
bride
Zhao
in such a
Jing'er's
shabby
back,
sedan
she
chair.
seemed very sad.
If it were her,
Li Chuang
she
sighed
probably
heavily
wouldn't
in
be
her
willing
heart.
to go up.
It was normal for her baby daughter
embarrassing
to be
married
sad.
in such a
After
sedan.
all,
It's
Chen
beautiful,
Huan
but
Feng
it's too
Zhangxia had
poor.
said terrible
If it were
things.
me,
I
her daughter
definitely
was a
wouldn't want
thin-skinned
it.
girl.
Only
She
someone like
definitely
Sister
couldn't
Pinger
bear
is
such
suitable.
words.
There was
Liang
no other
Xingyue
way
muttered.
now.
The
She could
corners of
only
Liang
ask Xinji's
Xinji's
mouth
mouth
curled
curled
up
up
to the
again.
Zhang family.
Her cousin was
and
just
asked
like
what
that.
Zheng Qian meant.
For the sake of
She
money,
couldn't leave her daughter
she didn't
hanging,
care about
could
a
she?
man's looks.
If she wanted a
the
reply,
family that Liang
she should
Xingyue
give it as
talked to
soon
was
as
quite well to
possible.
do.
Her
But the
daughter's
man was
marriage
too
couldn't
wild.
be delayed forever.
After all, the
There was a
atmosphere
butcher
at
in
old
his family,
table
and
suddenly
he had a
became
murderous
much more
aura.
gloomy.
He was about
Mother,
the same as an
there's going
ordinary
to be
butcher.
a banquet at
He
third
was
younger
tall and
brother's
sturdy,
house tomorrow.
had a full beard,
Should
and
we go
looked
with
fierce.
father?
He was
Feng
clearly in
Zhangxia
his
asked.
early 20s,
What Chenhua
but he looked
replied,
like a man in
of
his
course
30s
your father
or
will
40s.
go.
Why
With
do you
just a
ask?
glance, People
Mother,
didn't want to
I
continue
think the
looking.
banquet at third younger brother's house must be very good. There will be
Liang
food and wine.
Xinyue was like a
Feng
little
Zhangxia
lamb in
added.
front of this kind
Hua
of man.
Chanhua frowned and
Liang
said
Xinzi
unhappily
was
to
worried
Feng
that her
Zhangxia
cousin wouldn't be able to
eldest
handle this
daughter-in-law.
kind of man.
What are you talking
Wasn't
about?
she afraid that
What are
she
you
would
trying
be
to
eaten
say?
up without spitting out
Mom,
any bones?
I just want
In
to
any
say that we
case,
can send
if
some
it
money
were her,
to them as well.
she wouldn't be with
Just
someone
give them
else
20
just
copper
because they were
coins as a
rich.
token of
She
appreciation.
would feel disgusted
At
if she
that
was
time,
with that kind of man.
the men in our family
the
will
Qin
be
family
able to
arrived
enjoy
at
the
old
meal.
Zhao's courtyard.
If you can eat it,
Zhao Wenhua
you can
and
eat it
Liang
back for
Jinxiao
20
came out
copper
to
coins.
receive them.
Feng
The two
Zhangxia
families
looked at
first
Hua
chatted
Chun
for a while,
as if she
then
was trying
followed
to
the
please
procedure.
her. Hua
They
Chun
stayed
rolled
at
her
old
eyes
Zhao's
and
house
said,
for about 10
"You have a
minutes
good
before
idea.
letting Zhao
Although
Ping'er
you
go
can
out.
eat it back, you still have to spend money. We don't have that much money for you to spend. Mother, it's not good for me to not be able to eat at our third brother's banquet, right? Second aunt. Mother, it's
Zhao
not
Ping'er
like our
happily
family
asked.
spends money every
It's okay.
day.
It's okay,
This time,
really.
we're willing to
Wu
part
Zhenji
with it."
supported Zhao Ping
Very early
as
on.
he spoke.
When Shui
Come on,
hurriedly
Ping'er,
followed up on
second
Feng
aunt will send
Zhangxia's
you out.
words.
Okay,
The thought
thank
of being
you,
able
second
to
aunt.
eat meat
Zhao
and
Ping
drink wine made him
said
drool.
and quickly got up
Tomorrow,
from the bed.
his third
Seeing
brother
that her
would hold
daughter
a
was about
banquet,
to get
and
married,
everyone in the
Liang
courtyard would
Jinxiao
be eating
suddenly
delicious
felt a little
food.
reluctant
Their
to part
family
with her.
couldn't eat wild
After she
vegetables
married
at home
into her
like they did
husband's
now.
family,
They lost
she would
their
not be
appetite
able to
after
see them
just a
often
glance
like
she
them.
did in her mother's family. A
Married
That's not
daughter
good
was
either.
like spilled water.
How about this?
And she would
When
have
third
fewer
younger brother's
opportunities
banquet
to be
is
with
over
her
mother's
tomorrow.
family, there will be
After
a lot
all,
of
she was her
leftover
daughter.
food. No
I can
matter
ask
how
for
much
some of
Zhao
it back
Ping'er
at that
tormented
time.
her in
In
daily
this
life.
way,
She
you
would
can
feel
eat
sad
delicious
now
food
that she
again,
was about to
and
get
don't
married.
need to spend
Liang
dozens of copper
Jinxiao's
coins.
eyes reddened slightly,
Hua Chunhua's
and she
words
wiped the
weren't
tears from the
unreasonable.
corners of her
However,
eyes.
it was easy to
Ping'er,
say but hard to
Liang
do.
Jinxiao pulled
Mother,
Zhao Ping'er's
will third
hand,
younger brother
and
give
she
us
was
some?
a little reluctant
Feng
to let
Zhangxia
Zhao Ping'er
frowned
leave.
and asked,
"Mother, what do you want to say?" Zhao Ping'er originally wanted to go
Chapter
out
10:20.
immediately,
Mother,
so she was very
it's
happy.
possible for third
However,
brother to
before
give it
she
to
went
us.
out,
But
Liang
don't forget,
Jinxiao pulled her
third
again.
brother still has
So she
Yin
couldn't help
behind
but
him.
ask impatiently.
That girl is very
Liang
stingy.
Jinxiao
If we
sobbed,
want her to give
wiped
something
the tears
to our
from
family,
the corners of her eyes.
it will probably
and
be very
reminded
difficult.
Zhao Ping,
Third brother's
Ping,
family has so many
when
leftovers.
you go to your husband's
So
family,
who else should they
don't
give
act
them
like
to?
you're in your mother's
I don't think
family.
they can eat all of it.
After all,
Mom,
you're not their daughter.
third brother's
and they
family
won't
is building
dote
a
on you
house
too
now.
much.
And
When
there
you're
are
in their
many people
family,
coming.
you have to be
What
diligent.
if they eat all of it
You
and
can't
don't
be
give it
lazy,
to us?
or they'll dislike
Hua
you.
Chunhua frowned
Also,
and
you
said
have to be
seriously,
filial and serve
how
your
can they
in-laws
not
well.
give it to us?
Liang
If they
Jinxiao
really
reminded
don't
her
want
to
to
give
give
it
it
to
to
us,
us,
and
we'll
she
go
talked
and
for
make
a
trouble
long
for
time.
them.
Her
They
hand
used
held
old
Zhao
Zhao
Ping'er's hand
so
tightly,
they should at least be
and she
rewarded,
said to Zhao
right?
Ping'er, the
Hearing
more
Hua
Zhao Ping'er
Chunhua's
listened,
words,
the more
Feng
impatient
Zhangxia
she
eyes lit
became.
up.
Her
and
mother
she
was
hurriedly
really
nodded.
Usually,
Mom,
she
you're
didn't
right.
say anything.
They used our
now
yard,
that she was in a hurry
so they
to
should
go
at
out,
least be rewarded.
she pulled her hand
let
and
alone
talked
our own
nonstop.
family.
You
Therefore,
can't be so
Zhao
stingy
Ping'er
to your
said to
own
Liang
family.
Jinxiao unhappily.
Okay. Liang
Mother,
Jinxiao
you've said
replied
so
calmly.
much.
Are you
Mom,
done?
I
I'm
want to
going
eat
out.
at the table tomorrow.
If there's anything,
I
we
don't
can
want to
talk
eat
about it later.
leftovers.
Zhao
Liang
Xinhui
Jinxiao
pouted
looked
and
at
said,
Zhao Ping'er
she was a bit
helplessly,
of a clean freak.
as if a basin of
when she
cold
thought
water
about how
had been
so many
poured
people
over
had
his heart.
touched their chopsticks
She couldn't
and
bear
ate
to
the
part
food.
with Zhao Ping'er.
How could she
But
eat the
Zhao Ping'er's
leftovers
heart
when the
wasn't
time
with her.
came? Forget
Hua
it.
Chunhua was
It was
slightly
useless for him
surprised.
to say anything
Hui,
more.
how can
It
you
was
eat
better
at the
to let
table?
Zhao Ping'er
Your
leave
eldest
quickly.
brother and second
Therefore,
brother can't
Liang
eat at the
Jinxiao
table.
did not
Only
continue
your
to
father
hide it
can.
from Zhao Ping'er.
It's okay to eat
Instead,
leftovers,
he asked Zhao Ping
as long as
to
it's
go
delicious.
out. Watching
No,
Zhao
I don't
Ping
want to eat at the
leave,
table.
Liang Jinxiao
Mom,
sighed
you
slightly.
know I don't eat leftovers.
With this girl's
I want
temperament,
to eat at the
it would
table.
be strange if her
You,
in-laws didn't
Hua Chunhua
criticize
felt
her.
helpless.
Liang
Hui,
Jinyu
if you
comforted
eat
from
at
the
the
side.
table,
Your
big
father
sister,
can't
don't
eat
worry
at the
about
table.
it. I
The
think it's
grandchildren
better
will
if you
have
don't
their
eat
own
at the
blessings.
table.
Who knows,
No, Mom,
Ping'er might
I
become
just
more
wanna
sensible
eat.
after
I
she
want to
marries
eat.
over.
Hua Chunhua
Liang
felt
Jinxiao
helpless.
sighed and shook his
Hui,
head. I can't do
forget
that.
it.
How about this? I'll tell your sister-in-law
We can
to
only
leave
do
some
this.
leftovers. After
They
Zhao
haven't
Ping'er went
eaten at
out,
all.
she
Zhao
became even
Xinhui
more
was still
excited when she
displeased.
heard the commotion
Mom,
outside.
I don't care.
Once
Once she thought of Qing Yuan, at the table, Zhao Xinhui couldn't hold it in eating at the table was different. It was great that she was finally married to her big brother Yuan. Eating at the table was different from eating leftovers. She was dressed so nicely today. They could taste all the good dishes served at the table when he saw her. Well, would he think that she looked stunning like this? She could only do what Feng Zhangsha was also curious about how 20 copper coins and whether Zhao Xinhui enjoyed the meal as much as she wanted. And he was already handsome. I want to eat at the table. If he wore a wedding dress and dressed up properly, Zhao Yinner's sleeves, he would definitely be even more handsome. All right, it's only 20 copper coins. Or couldn't help but secretly lift up the red veil. You must eat back the 20 copper coins. Take a look. Before she could see anything, Mom, I know. Pressed it down. Of course. I'll eat back the 20 copper coins. You can't lift it up. That's great. Wait until the other people at the table had already been annoyed by Hui Chunhua's favoritism. They couldn't say anything. But Zhao Xinhui immediately made a fuss. How could she do that? Chapter 1039. Zhao Xinhui couldn't help but say, girl,
Mom,
what are you looking at?
It's not worth it for us
Wu
men to
Zhenju
eat at the table.
Zhao Ping'er said shyly.
My
Second
younger
aunt,
sister
I want
can't
to
eat
see
as
my
much as
husband.
us. And
Wu
she
Zhenju
doesn't drink
chuckled.
either.
Ping'er
Zhao
girl,
Wenshui's
your husband
meaning
is
was
very
obvious.
good-looking.
If Zhao
Ping'er
Xinhui
girl,
could eat at
it's
the
not
table,
like you
why
haven't
couldn't
seen
they?
him before.
All right,
After
stop
you
talking.
get married,
If
you
all
can
of you
take a
eat
good
at the
look at him
table,
at night.
where will you get
There's
so
no need
much
to
money?
rush things now.
You only know how to
Zhao
be calculative.
nodded when she
if
heard
your younger
that.
sister goes,
Okay, second
how
aunt,
can you
I
be the eldest
understand.
brother? Hee Ping'er girl, it's good that you understand. Cover your head
Chapter
properly
10:21.
and don't let anyone see
She
you.
knew that if she
Okay,
said one
second
more
aunt.
word,
Zhao Ping'er
Chanhua
nodded
would nag at her
cooperatively.
again.
I know,
Wu Zhenju
Mom.
brought Zhao
I'm just
Ping
saying.
to Qinyuan.
I didn't say that
He
I
said
must
to
eat it at
Qinyuan,
the dining table.
Here, groom, I'll
It's
bring
good
the
that you
bride
know.
to you.
Hua
Thank
Chanhua
you,
snorted.
Qinyuan said.
Old Zhao's family
Looking
was
at Zhao
eating in low
Ping,
spirits,
or standing in
while
front
Zhao
of him.
Yun'er's family was
He felt
enjoying
that she
the
was
meal.
different from usual.
After dinner, Zhao
Yun'er
was
prepared to
wearing
make
a
more
bright red
meatloaf
wedding
soup for
dress.
Yili.
If he
She
didn't think
wondered
of
whether
Zhao
Yili
Ping'er's
had
face,
eaten it before.
he would have thought that
Seeing
she was
Zhao
a great
Yun'er
beauty.
carrying a big bowl
Thinking
of
of
rice
Zhao
and a big
Ping'er's
bowl of
face,
meatloaf soup,
Qinyuan couldn't help but frown.
ask.
Mu Chunfeng saw
Yun'er,
Zhao Ping,
who are you
her
bringing the
outfit
meatloaf
today and
soup
said with
for?
a smile. Zhao Yun'er
Ping,
naturally
girl
wouldn't
is really
say that it was
beautiful
for
today.
Yili. Yuan
You're
hadn't
lucky.
told anyone that
Mu
Yili was staying
Chunfeng's
with
intention
her.
was to
However,
tell Qinyuan
since
not
Zhao
to look
Wenhua
so
asked
gloomy
her,
and unhappy.
she had to give him an
After
answer.
all,
It was
Father,
a joyous
this is for my
occasion to
family's
get married.
little black to eat.
They couldn't just put
Zhao
on a
Yun'er
sullen
pulled the
face
corner
and
of
look
her mouth
unhappy.
and explained.
It was as if they
Hearing
were
that,
holding a funeral
Zhao
at
Wenhua
home.
opened his mouth
How was
and
this a
sighed.
joyous occasion?
He said to Zhao Yun'er,
Qinyuan
Yun'er,
snorted.
your dog can
Did
eat
he
so
think
much?
that he was a fool?
Besides,
Only
you
a fool
need
would
to feed
believe
it with
that.
leftovers.
Okay,
Isn't
stop
it too
talking.
extravagant
Let
to make
Ping
such fresh
or
meatloaf
get into
soup
the
for a
sedan
dog?
chair. Zhao
Wu
Wenhua
Zhenju
thought
called
that
out.
it was just a
Mu
dog,
Chunfeng
not
nodded
a
and
human.
said,
People
Yes,
in the
let
village
Ping,
usually
or get into
raise
the sedan
dogs
chair
to feed
first.
people with leftovers.
Okay.
This was
With
the first
that,
time
Mu
that he had seen
Chunfeng helped
Zhao
Yun'er
Yun'er
feeding
feeding
a
a
dog
dog with
sedan
such
chair.
good food. Ping'er girl,
Well,
slow down. Zhao Yun'er
don't bump
smiled
into
embarrassedly.
anything.
She
Mu
didn't know how
Chunfeng
to
reminded
explain
her.
all of a sudden.
Got it, mother.
Dad, Zhao
Xiao
Ping'er
He
answered
doesn't eat
happily.
like this all the time.
Mu Chunfeng
It's fine to
directly
eat
called
some
her
good
mother
food once
instead
in a
of Mu
while.
Chunfeng.
Haha, fine.
After all,
Yun'er,
she was going
you
to
can bring
marry
it back
into
to
the
the
Xiao
Qing
family today.
Yeah.
So she
Zhao
was a
Yun'er
member of the
responded
Qing
and
family.
went back.
It was
She
fine
had
to
to
give
change
the
it
broth
now.
to Yili
Mu
as soon as
Chunfeng
possible
chuckled and
replied.
Otherwise, the broth would turn
He
cold.
was very happy to
When
see
they got
Zhao
home.
Ping. Yili was
After
lying
all,
on the floor
he was
with
marrying
a
a
pensive
wife.
look on his face.
No matter how
No
bad
one
Zhao
knew what he
Ping'er
was
was
thinking.
thinking. She was still a normal
Zhao
woman.
Yun'er had not yet
She
entered
could bear
the house.
children in the future,
And the smell of
and
meat
carry
that
on
she
their
wanted
family
to spew out
family
first
line.
penetrated her
Let's
nostrils.
go.
Yili
Mu
felt his
Chunfeng said
appetite
after
being
carrying
whetted.
Zhao Ping
Little
into
Black
the
was
sedan
originally
chair.
playing with
The
Little
people
Mao
carrying
in the
the
wooden
sedan
shed.
chair lifted
When
it
he
up a
smelled
little.
the aroma of
Suddenly,
meat,
there was a
he
cracking
hurriedly ran
sound.
towards Zhao Yun'er.
Everyone was stunned.
Miss Yun'er,
They didn't
what
know
did you
had
bring
happened.
back?
Then
They
they
saw
asked
that
with
the
a
bottom
smile.
of the sedan
Zhao
chair was
Yun'er
broken.
placed the bowl and
Zhao
chopsticks
Ping
on the table
fell out of
and
the
smiled
sedan
at
chair.
Yili.
Have you tried meatloaf
screamed
soup
as she
before?
fell to the ground.
Yili shook his head.
Ping'er girl, what
he had
happened?
never heard of it.
Mu Chunfeng
Come and
quickly
try
asked.
it. Zhao
Mother,
Yun'er
it
greeted
hurts.
Yili with a
Zhao
smile.
Ping'er complained.
Yili nodded and responded.
Why did the sedan
Looking
chair
at the
fall
food
apart?
on the table, Yili smiled and said, Not only
Mu
have I never
Chunfeng
heard
saw
of
the
it,
situation
but
and
I've also
quickly
never
asked.
seen it before.
Staring at the broken
You'll be able
sedan
to eat
chair.
it soon. He was at a
Try
loss.
it and see if you like
They were
it.
supposed to pick up
Yili
the bride.
responded.
Why
and
did the
picked up a
sedan
piece
chair
of
suddenly
meatloaf
fall
with his
apart?
chopsticks?
Great.
And put it
How
into
were they
his mouth.
supposed to pick up the
In
bride?
fact, he was a very ordinary person,
but it tasted really good. It was very refreshing and made people want to
Chapter
continue
10:40.
eating after eating it.
Zhao Ping'er grumbled and
delicious.
complained.
Yili said
How could
with
they
a
carry
smile,
such a sedan chair over to her wedding like
Haha,
this?
isn't it? Although
I
she
think
knew
it's
that the
delicious
Qin
too.
Yuan family
You
was a
should eat
little
more.
poor. They shouldn't
Okay.
do this.
Zhao Yun'er
As Zhao
stared at
Ping'er
Yili
fell,
curiously.
the red
She
veil
saw
on her
that
face
Yili was
suddenly
eating
fell
very
off,
happily,
revealing
and
her
kept
frightening
swallowing
wing
the
of
food
underneath.
into his stomach.
Many people who
Eat
didn't
slower.
see Zhao Ping
Don't choke.
Er's makeup
Zhao
were shocked
Yun'er
by
saw
Zhao
how
Ping'er's
fast Yili
appearance,
ate,
and was
especially
afraid those
that
who
Yili
were
would
carrying the
accidentally
sedan
choke.
chair, because they were right beside Zhao Ping'er. They were frightened by Zhao
Chapter
Ping.
10:21. Yinner quickly ran away.
Zhao Yinner smiled
there's
even
a
brighter.
ghost.
Have
There's
you
a
really
ghost.
never
There's a
eaten this
ghost.
before?
Help, help.
No.
For a
Yili
moment,
shook his head.
old Zhao's courtyard
make
was in a
sense.
mess.
It's
They
a
were
very
all
common
frightened
thing.
by Zhao Pinger's
Doesn't your family
appearance.
cook this?
Mu Chunfang
Zhao
looked
Yinner
toward
looked at
Zhao
Yili
Pinger.
curiously.
When he saw Zhao
Yili
Ping,
still shook
his
his head.
face that was as
I've
white
never
as a
eaten
ghost
it before.
He originally
Alright
wanted
then.
to help Zhao
Sigh.
Pinger up.
I feel like you
However,
haven't eaten anything
he was frightened
before.
by Zhao Ping.
Zhao Yinner
fell
looked at
back.
Yili with sympathy.
He sat on the ground.
Zhao Yinner was
still in
curious
shock
about
and
Yili's
patted his chest
personality.
with his other hand.
This man looked very
He muttered,
lonely.
"Oh my
He
God,
never
there's a
mentioned
ghost."
his family members.
Zhao Ping,
Could he be
was
an orphan?
still complaining.
Just when Zhao
because she
Yinner
was
was
in pain
lost
from
in
the
thought,
fall.
a dog
Mother,
suddenly
it hurt
barked.
so much.
This barking
Mother,
didn't come from
why didn't you
anywhere
get me a
else.
good sedan
It
chair?
came from Little Hay.
When Mu Chunfang saw
Woof.
that Zhao Pinger
Woof.
was talking
Woof.
to him,
Little
he
Hay
was stunned
barked at
for a
Yili.
moment before he
Zhao
realized
Yinner
that
and
what he
Yili
saw
were
was not a
stunned.
ghost.
They looked at
But
Little
Zhao
Hay,
Pinger
who
was squatting on
Ping.
the ground.
Pinger girl?
Woof. Mu
Woof.
Chunfang asked
Woof.
uncertainly.
Little Hay continued
Mother,
barking
Zhao
and stared
Pinger
at the
mumbled,
bowl on the table.
"Ah."
Ping.
Without a doubt.
Or girl,
Little
how did
Hay
you end
wanted
up like
to eat
this?
the meat patties
You
in the
really
bowl.
scared me.
As Mu Chunfang
Yili
spoke,
looked at little
he went
Hay
in
on
front
the
of Zhao
ground,
Ping,
then looked at
and
Zhao
pulled
Yuner.
Zhao Ping.
He wants
up
to
from the
eat the
ground.
food in your bowl.
Mother,
As
my
Zhao
butt is
Yuner
almost
said,
broken from the
Xiao
fall.
He also
After
responded
Zhao
with a
Ping
whimper,
complained,
and then
she
stared
wiped her
at
face
Yili eagerly.
Mother, don't I
Yili
look
suddenly
good today?
didn't know what to
Mu
do.
Chunfang
If a
swallowed
dog
a
wanted
few
to
mouthfuls
eat,
of
he
saliva
couldn't
into his
refuse to
stomach.
give it some food.
Look good.
Little
How could she
Black's
look
tongue
good?
was still licking
Zhao
here
Ping,
and there,
or looked even
looking
better
very
than usual.
gluttonous. She
Then
couldn't
I'll
be
share some
described
with
this
him.
ugly anymore.
Yili thought for a while.
She was very scary.
It didn't seem good
She
for
was
him
so
to take
scared
all the
that his
food.
soul almost
Little
left
Hay
his
looked
body.
at him eagerly.
He didn't know what
and looked
happened to
very
Zhao
pitiful.
Ping, or
All
that
right,
made her dress
Zhao
like
Yin,
this, or brought Little
Ping,
Black's
or
bowl
you
over.
look worse than usual.
And Yili poured
Mu
some
Chunfang
meatloaf
said
soup
weakly.
into Little Black's
Actually,
bowl.
if she
Come,
really
Little Black,
dressed up
eat.
properly,
Zhao
she
Yuner
wouldn't
greeted
look
Little
bad.
Hay. Now that
Xiao
she
He
looked
immediately
like this,
got up from the
even
ground
a woman like
and
Zhao
rushed
Ping
towards Zhao
would be
Yuner.
scared to
He
death.
even wagged
let
his
alone
tail
a
at
man.
Zhao Yuner.
It would be
He
strange
thought that
if
Yili
his
ate
Yuana was
faster.
willing to touch
But
such
Little
a
Hay
woman.
ate much faster
Sigh.
than Yili.
Mu Chunfang
After
sighed
swallowing
in his heart,
half a bowl of
thinking
meatloaf
about how
soup,
pitiful his
he licked
Yuaner
the
was.
corner of his mouth
It was all
to
his
savor the
parents'
aftertaste.
If he had
Woof,
money,
woof, woof.
he could
Little
also
Black
let
continued to
Yuan
bark
marry
a
a
more
beautiful
times.
girl. It
Now
seemed
he
like
could
Little
only
Black
marry
wanted
someone
more.
like Zhao Ping or
Zhao Yuner
Qin
patted
Yuan
Little
was
Black's
really
head
helpless
and said
about
to
this.
Little Black,
He could only
Little
think
Black,
about it in the
I
future.
know you've grown
when
up
their
and your
family's
appetite
has
has become
become bigger.
improved.
But
He
she's
could
already
continue
given
to
you
arrange
half of
other
it.
marriages
Isn't
for
that
Qin
enough?
Yuan.
Could it
and
be
find
that
a
you'll only be
presentable
happy if I
daughter-in-law.
give you everything?
People should be content with what they have.
Qin Yuan
You can't be
glanced
like
at Zhao
this.
Ping.
Otherwise,
I
I
won't give it to
and
you
the
next
corner
time.
of his mouth couldn't
Little
help but
Black
twitch.
understood Zhao
He
Yun's
originally
words
had some
and made a
fantasies
woo-woo
about
sound.
Zhao Ping, but he didn't
and thought
continue
that
to
Zhao
shout
Ping
about eating,
or could
Little
give him
Black
a
is so
surprise if she
obedient.
dressed up
Zhao
properly.
Yuner patted
He
Little
didn't
Black's
expect to
head
be
and
surprised
praised him.
him.
When he
Woo,
saw
woo,
Zhao
woo.
Ping
Little
Little
Black
Black
enjoyed
enjoyed
Zhao Yuner
She didn't
stroking
look like
of
a
his
bride
fur.
at all. Looking at
She
Little
looked like a
Black's
female
physique,
ghost.
he grew really
Qin
fast.
Yuan's face
In
instantly
just 1 or 2
darkened.
months,
Idiot.
his body had more than doubled in size. The bigger he grew, the more food he needed to eat. Chapter
If it was in the
1041,
past,
half
no
a
matter
bowl of
where he
meatloaf
went,
soup would
people would
probably
Little
say
Black's
that he
stomach.
married a
But
ghost-like
now,
wife.
it wasn't
The
enough
more
to
Qin
fill the
Yuan
gaps
thought
between
about
his
it,
teeth.
the angrier he
Mother,
got. Little Black
if she
can
was
eat more
ugly,
and
he
more
could
now.
tolerate it.
Dowda came
But
in
if she
front
was
of Zhao
stupid,
Yuner,
he really
and said
couldn't
in a
accept
childish
it.
voice.
Looking at
Zhao
Zhao Yuner's
Pinger's
ghost-like
ghost-like
face,
Yes, Little
Qin
Black
Yuan
can
really
eat more and
wanted to
more.
fling his sleeves
Mother,
and directly
Little Black
reject
is
this
also growing
marriage.
bigger and bigger.
Losing face now
Will he
is
grow
better
up
than
to be
losing
like Big
face
Gray in
after
the
marrying
future?
Zhao Pinger.
Mother, it's not that exaggerated, right? I just
Chapter
put on a bit more
1023.
rouge. Zhao
Rouge is
Yuner
good
wasn't
stuff.
sure how big Little
Zhao
Black
Pinger
was.
muttered.
But
Hey,
it seemed that Little Black
okay,
wasn't
Ping,
simple.
or girl, don't
Maybe
say
he could
anymore.
grow up to be a big
Hurry
wolf
up and
dog,
cover your head.
even bigger
Let's
than
go
Big
back.
Gray.
Mu
Dowda's eyes
Chunfang
lit up
said
when
as
he
she
picked
heard
up
this.
the red veil on the
Mother,
ground
is that
and
true?
covered Zhao
Can
Ping.
Little Black's
Er's
head
grow
with
up
it?
to be as
Mu
big as Big
Chunfang
Gray?
was worried that Qin
Yes.
Yuan would be
Zhao
angry if
Yuner
he saw
replied
Zhao
when she
Ping
saw that
like
Dowdu
this.
was looking
What if
forward
Qin
to it.
Yuan threw a tantrum
Mother,
and quit now?
if Little Black
What
can
should he
grow
do
up to
then?
be as big as
Anyway,
Big Gray,
this time,
then
they had to
Dowdu
marry
will
Zhao
definitely
Pinger.
be very
Okay, mother,
awe-inspiring.
Zhao
When he
Pinger
goes out
replied resentfully.
resentfully. Mother,
Zhao Yuner patted
I can't
Dowda's
still be
head and
sitting in this
smiled.
broken sedan,
Of
right?
course.
Otherwise,
Zhao Yuner
I'll
was
fall
amused
again.
by Dowda's words.
Zhao Pinger scolded.
A child's world
Mu
was
Chunfang
really
suddenly
simple.
felt very
However,
embarrassed. Zhao Yuner really wanted to
Pinger
protect
girl,
Dowda's
if
innocence
you don't sit in this
and
sedan,
not let Dowda
then you
suffer
won't
any
be
harm.
able to sit in it.
Dowda went over to
But
Little
mother,
Black and
this is
squatted
too
down.
dangerous.
He patted
Zhao
Little
Pinger
Black's
muttered,
head and said,
looking at the broken
Little Black,
sedan,
you have to
she
grow
didn't
up
want to
quickly
sit in
when
it
you grow
anymore.
up.
Afraid
No one will
that she
dare
would
to
bully
bully
me
me
when
I
she
take
sat
you
in
out.
it.
In the
After
end, her
Dowda's
life was
reminder,
still more important.
Little Black barked
She
a
couldn't
few
treat
times
it as a
Dowdu.
joke, as
Mother,
if to express
you
his
said
agreement.
that you came to pick up
Seeing
the
this
bride.
scene, why
Zhao
didn't you
Yuner's
spend
heart
money
was
and
filled
rent
with
a better
warmth.
sedan?
How could their
Zhao
family
Pinger
be so
continued to
harmonious?
complain. How could a dog and a
Mu
human be
Chunfang
so
suddenly
harmonious?
didn't know what to say.
Being their family family's dog was also
poor,
very blissful,
so she would save money
wherever
she could.
Zhao Yun'er's
He even
family
borrowed
began
a broken
to bustle
shell
with
from someone
activity.
and stuffed 2
Zhao
eggs into it.
Ping's wedding was a
Wasn't
big
that
event.
just a waste of
Zhao
time?
Yun'er was also
If you were
very
to rent
excited.
a good palanquin,
Others felt that
it
this
would
was a
cost at
joyous
least a
day,
few hundred
and
copper
were excited
coins.
to be able to
There was
join
no
in the
need
fun.
to waste money.
However,
So they
Zhao
naturally
Yun'er felt that it was
waste
very difficult
Moreover,
not to be
he
excited
felt that
after
although the
seeing off
palanquin
Xiaoping,
was a little broken,
the god of plague,
who would have thought that
early
it would
in the
be
morning,
so broken after
the people
being
of the
used so
third branch
carelessly?
woke up to
When
prepare
Qin
for the
Yuan heard
relevant
Zhao
matters.
Ping's ridicule,
The wedding
he
banquet
walked
was held
over
at noon,
unhappily and said
so
to
the
Zhao
banquet was
Ping'er,
held at noon.
"If you don't want to
Now
sit
Zhao
here,
Ping
then
had
don't
to
sit
dress
here.
up and wait for
Otherwise,
the people
you
from
can
the
leave
family
by
Qin to
yourself.
come and pick her
Otherwise,
up.
don't come
Because
to my
Zhao
house."
Yun'er was getting
Today's
married.
wedding is canceled.
Everyone in her family
Hearing
had to be
Qin
present,
Yuan's angry words,
especially
Zhao
her
Ping'er
uncles.
was stunned.
In addition
Big
to
brother
Zhao
Yuan,
Yun'er's first and second uncles,
do you really think
several
you're the daughter
aunts
of a
also
rich
came
family?
to join in the fun.
It's already good
There was
enough
also
that there's
his
a
cousin
sedan to
and
pick
Zhao
you up.
Yun'er's grandmother.
Yet you're still
It
nagging
could be
about
said
it.
that Liang
The
Jinxiao's
corners of
entire
Zhao
family
Ping's
had come
mouth
out.
twitched.
Except
She
for
knew
a
that
few
Qin
people
Yuan
of the
was
same
angry.
generation.
Hence,
As
she
Zhao
hurriedly
Yun'er, who
said,
stayed at home
"Big brother
and
Yuan,
did not come.
I'll sit
After
here,
all,
all right?" They
was
knew
wrong.
that Zhao Yin'er's
I shouldn't
family
have
would
said that.
definitely entertain them when
Yuan
they came
snorted
over.
softly.
If he could eat something good, why wouldn't he eat it? He
Mu
wasn't
Chunfang
stupid.
hurriedly said
According
to
to the
Yuan,
customs of the
"Yuan,
countryside,
today is
when
a
daughter
joyous
got
day.
married,
Don't be
the
angry.
uncle had to be
Don't
present.
make a fuss.
The aunt
We've
was
wronged
dispensable. It's our
As
fault.
for his grandmother,
Don't be so
she would
fierce.
usually come over.
It's fine now.
It was
Let's
understandable
go.
that old
Only
Madame
then
Liang
did
came to see
Yuan's
Zhao
stiff
Ping'er
face
soften
wedding.
a little.
But what did
He
her aunt
continued
and
to
cousin
snort
mean
softly
by coming over
and didn't
to
want
join
to
in the
bother
fun?
with Zhao Ping'er
Zhao
anymore.
Yin'er was not stupid.
This was probably the
Naturally,
first time
she
he had
knew
ever
what they were
felt
up
so
to.
stifled
Zhao
after
Yin'er
marrying
could
a
not
wife.
do anything to
Mu
thick-skinned
Chunfang
people.
hurriedly pulled Zhao Ping'er and said,
She could
"Ping'er,
not go
come.
against them.
Mother will help
On
you
such
in.
a big day.
It's tight now.
It was not good
Don't
to drive
fall
them
out
away.
again." She could
Zhao
only
Ping'er
let them
nodded.
take advantage
She
of
didn't
her
want to fall
and
out
come
either.
over to have a meal.
The quality was too
In the
poor.
morning,
Could
many
she be
people
blamed?
came to Zhao Yun'er's house to join in the fun.
In the room of the third branch, Zhao Ping'er, who had changed into the wedding dress,
Chapter 10
was dressing up. When
Seeing
Zhao
Zhao
Ping'er's wedding
sat
dress,
in the sedan
the
chair
people
again.
who came were admiring
She followed
and
Mu
envious.
Chunfang's
Ping'er,
instructions
you're so lucky.
and held the sedan
Yes,
chair's
to
door
be able
tightly,
to wear such a
afraid
beautiful
that she
wedding
would fall
dress.
out.
This
Let's
wedding
go,
dress
let's go.
is so beautiful.
Mu Chunfang shouted
It's
again
obvious that it's
and
expensive.
called out to the men who
I've
were
seen
carrying
so many
the
people
sedan
get
chair.
married.
After
But
the
I've
sedan
never
chair
seen a
was
girl
lifted
get
again,
married in a more
Zhao
beautiful
Ping'er said
wedding
to
dress.
Liang Jinxiao and Zhao Wenhua, In-laws, we've taken Ping'er away. Don't worry, we'll definitely treat Ping'er well. And you can go now, Zhang Wenhua replied. Seeing that his daughter was taken away, Zhao Wenhua was also sad and reluctant to part with her. After all, once she got married, she would be part of someone else's family, and it would be different from his own family. After Mu Chunfang, Zhao Wenhua, and Liang Jinxiao finished greeting each other, he pulled Qin Yuan and said, Yuan, don't just stand there. Let's go. Okay. Qin Yuan responded reluctantly. After Liang Jinfen took Qin Yuan away, old Zhao's family watched as the family Qin left. After the family Qin's people left, the courtyard began to talk again. Wu Zhenju walked in front of Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao and said to Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao, Sister, brother-in-law, your in-laws are not very good. You actually used such a shabby sedan chair to pick up the bride. Originally, you had dressed Ping'er up beautifully in hopes that she would get married in a grand manner. But now, this in-law's family has made such a shabby sedan chair. She's getting married in such a shabby manner. Liang Jinfen and Liang Jinxiao smiled embarrassedly and said, It's okay. Family Qin is poor, so we don't care about this. They couldn't possibly say that they cared, right? At the very least, he had to leave some face for himself. Wu Zhenju also smiled and said, Elder sister, elder brother-in-law, you two are really generous. If my Yuer married into such a family and became like this, I would definitely scold her. Our situation is different, Liang Jinxiao replied weakly. He really didn't want to continue talking about this topic. It was really embarrassing to talk about it. Guo Caixia smiled and said, Second sister-in-law, you can't compare like this. Yuer has found a good marriage. Not everyone can find such a good marriage like Yuer. Speaking of this, Wu Zhenju was a little proud. Of course. My Yuer is pretty and has a good life. That means she can find a rich husband. Elder sister-in-law, my Yuer's marriage is almost set. Your Zier's marriage needs to be arranged quickly. Zier is not bad. Maybe she can find a good marriage like my Yuer. Wu Zhenju was just saying it to show off. He didn't really want Liang Shizi to find a good marriage. If she found one, she would feel sad. Sisters-in-law were like this. No one could see the other doing well. Guo Caixia's expression didn't change. He smiled and replied, Of course. But you still have to find a good marriage partner. Other than the qualifications, the character is also another. The main thing is that my Zier won't have to suffer hardships when she gets married. It's fine as long as he can take care of my Zier. Wu Zhenju snorted softly. He felt that Guo Caixia was really good at pretending. It was all because she hadn't found anyone rich yet that she said that. If she could really find a rich marriage partner, his sister-in-law would definitely show off in front of him. Now he could only be envious of their Yuer. Chapter 1043. Wu Zhenju said sarcastically to Guo Caixia. The two sisters-in-law instantly became unhappy. Liang Jinhui came out and said with a smile, We were just talking about Ping'er. Why are the two of you talking now?
Liang Jinhui was worried that Wu Zhenju and Guo Caixia would quarrel again. It was fine if they quarreled in the Liang residence. After all, the door was closed and no one would know. However, they were in Zhao Yin'er's house now. There were so many people watching. If they quarreled, they would become a laughing stock. Got it. Wu Zhenju responded. Zhao Wenhua sighed deeply and said to Wu Zhenju, "It's not that we don't want to choose our in-laws. It's just that Ping Er's qualifications are there. If she's like you, then we can choose carefully. Ping Er's looks are too shabby. It's good enough that a man is willing to marry her. What's there to be picky about?" After hearing Zhao Wenhua's words, Wu Zhenju couldn't make fun of him even if he wanted to. Zhao Wenhua was telling the truth. It was good enough that Zhao Ping Er got married. What's there to be picky about? Brother-in-law, you're right. It's just that I don't know if Ping Er will suffer if she marries him, Wu Zhenju said again. Zhao Wenhua waved his hand. It's her business whether she'll suffer or not. Since Ping Er is willing to marry him, it's her decision. He has to be responsible for it. Wu Zhenju smiled embarrassedly. But Ping Er is so happy today. Of course she's willing. I can't wait to run to her house. Zhao Wenhua's expression stiffened. He felt very awkward when he thought about what Zhao Ping Er had done today. It wasn't just awkward. It was embarrassing. He couldn't think about these things anymore. Otherwise he would lose face. Zhao Wenhua had no choice but to call out to the Liang family. Eldest brother, second brother, eldest sister-in-law, second sister-in-law, go inside and rest. The banquet will start in the afternoon. When it came to serious matters, the topic immediately changed. Yes, brother-in-law is right. Let's quickly sit down and wait for the banquet to start. Okay. After entertaining the Liang family, Zhao Wenhua caught up with Zhao Tianhu, and Zhao Tianan went to the other houses in the village to prepare the tables and chairs for the banquet. And they didn't seem to have any intention of helping. Of course, they treated themselves as guests. There was no reason for them, which was why they acted. Of course, Zhao Yunlong did not count on these people at all. After all, he knew the Liang family's character. They might be unreliable. After a while, Zhao Wenhua brought Zhao Tianan and Zhao Tianhu back with the tables and chairs. The family continued to get busy. Zhao Yun, Liang Jinqiao, Mulan Mu Hin, and old Madame Chen were busy in the kitchen. This banquet was very important, because the people of the third branch worked very hard. If the banquet was done well, the third branch's face would look much better. They had to do it well. Because Zhao Yun'er was busy, there was a burst of fragrance coming from the kitchen. The people in the courtyard swallowed their saliva. What did old Zhao's third branch do? Why is it so fragrant? I've never seen a banquet with such a fragrant smell. Yes, I want to eat just by smelling it. My stomach is growling. Chapter 1044. Who's the chef today? It smells so good. Did they specially invite a chef from the town? I don't know. Maybe so. The smell is too strong. It's too tempting. I wasn't hungry at first, but I'm starting to feel hungry after smelling it. Yeah, I don't know when we can start eating. I can't wait anymore. Me too, me too. I want to eat. Let's wait a little longer. It should take a while at the beginning. It's not time yet. We shouldn't have come to join in the fun. The smell is so tempting. Our hearts itch when we can't eat it. Isn't that so? Why don't we go back first and come back when the banquet starts? Otherwise, we won't be able to stand the smell. Forget it, let's wait. If we go back now, we'll have to come back later. It's too troublesome. All right then, let's go out and start the banquet earlier. The people who came to join in the fun happened to have nothing to do, so they chatted one after another. They were all curious about what they could eat for lunch. Although they hadn't seen it yet, they guessed that it must be something delicious when they smelled the aroma. This time, they truly felt the change in the third branch's life. Not to mention Zhao Pinger's wedding dress. The most important thing was to prepare the dishes and let everyone eat and drink to their heart's content. The people in the countryside were particular about face. Generally, people would feel proud when they entertained guests at banquets. There was no doubt that the third branch was successful this time. By 11 a.m., the stools were neatly arranged, and the people who were supposed to come had basically arrived. Zhao Wenhua had been busy because he had to arrange for the guests to sit down. Zhao Yunlong divided the tables among the people who came. Basically, men sat together with men, and women sat together with women. Because men could drink together, it wasn't so convenient for men and women to sit at the same table. However, the people who came to drink were mostly men. Out of the 10 tables, 8 were occupied by men, and 2 were occupied by women. After all, in the countryside, women didn't have much status in the family. Good things like going out to drink naturally fell to the men. Unless there were no men at home, or the men had something to do, they would let the women go out to drink. The original plan was to have 10 tables, so there should be enough seats. However, with so many people from the Liang family coming at once, the 10 tables could not fit them all. Looking at this situation, Zhao Yunlong was very embarrassed, but more than that he was anxious. I don't think there's enough space. What should I do? Zhao Wenhua muttered. He thought that if the Liang family did not take a seat, then it could be arranged. Father, can't you sit down? Zhao Yun, walked in front of Zhao Wenhua and asked. Zhao Yunlong sighed slightly, nodded and replied. Father, if you can't sit, then tell eldest aunt, and second aunt not to sit. Men can go to the table. Why do women need to go to the table? Zhao Yun'er said directly. Zhao Wenhua frowned, looking very conflicted. Yun'er, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know what to say. After all, Zhao Wenhua cared about his face, so it was not good for him to say such things. Zhao Yun'er saw that her father was timid in a place where he shouldn't be timid. Chapter 1045. After Zhao Yun'er finished speaking with Zhao Wenhua, she went straight to the Liang family and explained the situation. Zhao Yun'er was very direct and did not care about her reputation at all. She used a commanding tone and did not allow the women from the Liang family to sit. Liang Jinfen was the first to be unhappy. He jumped out and said to Zhao Yun'er, I say, Yun'er girl, can you get another table for us to eat at? Zhao Yun'er did not expect Liang Jinfen to be so thick-skinned and say such things. She snorted and said, Second aunt, my family had planned to set up 10 tables for the banquet, but we did not expect so many of you to come. We only prepared 10 tables, so we can't prepare another table. Yun'er girl, then we won't have anything to eat. That won't do. There are so many of us. How can we not have anything to eat? You have to think of a way to arrange a table for us, Liang Jinfen said anxiously. That's right, Pinger girl. If we don't go to the table, what are we going to eat? Wu Zhenju followed Liang Jinfen and agreed. Zhao Yun'er rolled her eyes. She really did not want to talk about this topic with them. Was she the one who asked so many of them to come? They came one by one to freeload on food and drink. She did not know where they got the face from. It was fine that they came, but who did they think they were? They clearly knew that there were not enough seats, but they still wanted to sit at the table. Second aunt, then what do you think we should do? Don't tell me that we should arrange for you to sit at the table and chase the others away? Zhao Yun'er sneered and her tone was full of sarcasm. We did not say that we would definitely sit at the table, but you have to let us arrange it, right? We can't just sit there and watch the people outside eat without eating, right? Liang Jinfen did not give up and replied. Zhao Yun'er smiled and said to Liang Jinfen, I didn't say that you can't eat. When my family's banquet is done, and there are leftovers, you can bring them over to eat. You have to arrange it for the guests first. How can we do that? Wu Zhenju quickly refused. How can we eat leftovers? Yun'er girl, how are you going to arrange this? We are your elders. If you don't welcome us, you can just say so. You don't have to use this method to disgust us, right? Zhao Yun'er looked at them coldly. How interesting. So they knew it. If that's the case, then why did they purposely come over? Weren't they deliberately trying to take advantage of her? Now they admitted it. Zhao Yun'er only thought it was funny. Is this arrangement? Don't tell me that we have to entertain you first, and then entertain the guests? Wouldn't that be embarrassing our family? Those who don't know might think that we are unwilling to let the guests eat. You girl, Liang Jinshan and Wu Zhenju were about to argue with Zhao Yun, or when old Madame Liang stood up and mediated. All right. Stop arguing. Isn't there no other way? Yin girl's words are not without reason. It's fine as long as we can eat. Why do we have to pick so much? After all, we didn't inform Yin before we came. That's why Yin mother didn't prepare in advance. Zhao Yin looked at old Madame Liang again. Although this old lady was a little old, her eyes were very clear and bright. And she was also very bright. What she said was reasonable. Unlike the other people in the Liang family, Zhao Yin had a much better impression of old Madame Liang. Chapter 1046. Zhao Yin took another look at old Madame Liang, and had a good impression of her. Guo Zixia also agreed. That's right, let's just eat casually. We don't have a choice, right? Let's not cause trouble for eldest sister's family. It's a joyous occasion today, and eldest sister's family is busy enough. Wu Zhenju glanced at Guo Zixia. This sister-in-law of hers was really good at pretending to be a good person. Her words were really pleasant to hear. Although Wu Zhenju had opinions in his heart, it was not good for him to express them. Because old Madame Liang had already spoken up. What else could she say? If she said too much, it would probably make old Madame Liang unhappy. At that time, old Madame Liang would think that she did not know the rules as well as her sister-in-law. Naturally, she would be biased towards the first branch. Now that the Liang family's money was in old Madame Liang's hands, Wu Zhenju did not know how much money old Madame Liang had in her hands. Now that the Fen family was not involved, he definitely could not offend old Madame Liang. Thus Wu Zhenju smiled and said, Yes. Mother, you're right. Let's not eat at the table. Let's just eat casually. Yin if there's any leftover meat later, you have to bring it over for us. The corner of Zhao Yin's mouth twitched. This second aunt of hers was really not embarrassed to say anything. Got it. Yin you can go out and do your work. The few of us will wait in the room. Wu Zhenju pretended to be considerate and said this. Zhao Yin responded faintly. Just as she was about to go out, she pulled Liang Jinyu and said, Aunt, don't stand in the room. Go out and sit outside to eat. Liang Jinyu looked at Zhao Yin with some confusion. Yin didn't you say that there aren't enough seats outside? You can go and let others sit. I'll just stay in the room. Liang Jinyu was different from the rest of the Liang family. She was genuinely concerned about Zhao Yin. Zhao Yin smiled and said, It's okay, Auntie. There's only one person from your family here. There's enough seats for you. I see. Liang Jinyu was silent for a moment. At this time, Liang Jinfen came over and said to Liang Jinyu, Little sister, if you don't want to go out and do it, then let me go out. I'll take your place at the table. Liang Jinfen thought that eating at the table was better than hiding in the house and eating leftovers. Since there was a seat for Liang Jinyu, she could sit there and eat. Liang Jinfen shamelessly suggested it herself, so Liang Jinyu couldn't refuse. After all, she was her second sister. Zhao Yin was unhappy. How could they bully people like this? Second aunt. The seat should be taken by youngest aunt. What's the reason for you to replace it? Yin, your youngest aunt hasn't said anything yet. Why do you care so much? This is my house. Of course I care. You. Zhao Yin couldn't be bothered to talk to Liang Jinfen. She directly pulled Liang Jinyu out. After arranging for Liang Jinyu to sit at the table, Zhao Yin reminded Liang Jinyu, Youngest aunt, don't let them sit. After all, you brought the gift money over. Youngest uncle hasn't come yet. If you don't come to the table today, my father and mother will have to go to your house to return the gift. After hearing Zhao Yin's words, Liang Jinyu didn't want Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao to go to her house to return the gift. She could only nod and agree. Okay, Yin, I know. I'll eat at the table myself. I won't let anyone else eat. Chapter 1047. After solving the problem of not having enough seats, Zhao Yin turned around and entered the kitchen to continue working. After settling the guests down, Zhao Wenhua went to the courtyard to set off a string of firecrackers, because the banquet had begun. Piping hot and fragrant dishes were served from the kitchen. The freshly cooked dishes were placed on the table. When the guests tasted Zhao Yin'er's cooking, they were all praising how delicious it was. It wasn't that they hadn't eaten banquets before. Some banquets were even prepared by the chefs of the restaurants. However, they felt that the dishes made by the chefs were not as good as Zhao Yin'er's dishes. It's so delicious. Yes, it's delicious, too delicious. I've eaten so many banquets, but this is the first time I've eaten such good food. Isn't that so? But who is the one who cooked this dish? Speaking of this question, all of them looked at Zhao Wenhua. Brother Wenhua, which restaurant's chef did your family invite for today's banquet? Yes, tell me. When my family holds a banquet later, I'll invite him back too. How much do we have to pay the chef for this banquet? Is it a few hundred copper coins? Or a few taels of silver? I think it's a few taels of silver. I've eaten the dishes made by a chef before. I heard that he was paid 2 taels of silver a day. But it's not as good as the dishes made by Brother Wenhua's family today. Everyone at the dining table began to interrogate Zhao Wenhua. Usually, when the villagers held banquets, other than the ones made by their own family, those who had a little bit of money would go to the town to find a chef to cook. However, if they invited a chef back, the salary for a day's work was not small. The cheaper ones were a few hundred copper coins, and the more expensive ones were a few taels of silver. Looking at the dishes made by Zhao Yin'er's family, it should be worth a few taels of silver. If that was really the case, then it could only be said that Zhao Yin'er's family was too rich. They were so rich that they could invite such an expensive chef back. How could an ordinary villager have the money to do so? In the face of these people's interrogation, Zhao Wenhua smiled. My family didn't invite a chef back. It was my second daughter, Yin'er, who made it. When Zhao Wenhua mentioned Zhao Yin'er, he couldn't hide the smile on his face, and there was a bit of pride in his tone. After all, Zhao Yin'er's dishes today were unanimously praised by everyone at the dinner table, which made him feel very proud. When they heard Zhao Wenhua said that it was made by Zhao Yin'er, they were slightly surprised. Ah, it was actually made by Yun's. That's right, Yin'er's skills are so good. That's right, it's even better than the food cooked by the chefs in the restaurant. That's why the heir took a fancy to her. I think Yin'er must have her own unusual aspects. Now that I look at it, it is indeed so. Just based on her cooking skills in our village, no, in our town, we might not be able to find someone who can cook better than Yin'er. Yin'er's skills can directly be a chef. These people, one after another, praised Zhao Yin'er to the sky. Other than those who sincerely thought that Zhao Yin'er was amazing, there were also those who flattered Zhao Wenhua to make him happy and get close to Zhao Wenhua. Chapter 1048. Now that Zhao Yin'er's family was not only rich, but they also had Mu Lianfeng as their backer. Ordinary people would not dare to offend them. Zhao Wenhua laughed heartily upon hearing these people's words. He was in a very good mood. You're flattering me, you're flattering me. My Yin'er only made some home-cooked dishes. It just so happens that you guys like them. Since everyone thinks it's delicious, eat more. As he spoke, Zhao Wenhua also greeted the people at the other tables. In addition to good dishes, there was also good wine today. The men drank wine and ate at the same time. They were very comfortable. Brother Wenhua, we're not flattering you. Haha, Yin'er's cooking is so delicious. When I hold a banquet later, I wonder if I can invite Yin'er over to be my chef. When the time comes, I can pay Yin'er. Someone suggested at this time. Zhao Wenhua smiled and said, I can't make that decision. I have to ask Yin'er. Yin'er has to be willing to go. Haha, of course. I have to ask for Yin'er's opinion. Yes. The dining table was very lively, but the kitchen was getting busier. Dishes were constantly being cooked and served. Other than Zhao Yin'er, who was very busy, Zhao Tianhu and Zhao Tianan did not rest either. They were constantly running back and forth. It was indeed difficult to serve a 10-table banquet. They had to serve the new dishes and take back the plates that they had finished eating. This was considered physical work. Fortunately, the two of them were strong young men. Although they were a little tired when they were busy, They were not so tired that they could not move. Seeing Zhao Tianan constantly busy, Mu Hin felt a little distressed. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Mu Hin walked up to Zhao Tianan, took out her handkerchief, and wiped Zhao Tianan's head. She said to Zhao Tianan, "Tianan, let me wipe your sweat. You're sweating a lot." Zhao Tianan met Mu Hin's eyes and did not refuse. After Mu Hin finished wiping, he said to Mu Hin, "Mu Hin, thank you." Mu Hin lowered her head shyly. "You're welcome." Zhao Tianan smiled, revealing a little white teeth. His canine teeth were even more adorable. Mu Xian took some leftovers from the side. They weren't leftovers from others, but leftovers that hadn't been served yet. She took a small bowl and prepared to feed Tianan. "Tianan, you've been busy for so long and you haven't eaten anything. Eat a little now, or else you'll starve. It'll take more energy to serve the dishes later." Zhao Tianan glanced at Mu Hin again, thought for a moment and nodded. "Okay, I'll eat some first." Okay, Mu Hin said, and put a spoonful into Zhao Tianan's mouth. Zhao Tian, who watched from the side, feeling very envious. Zhao Tianan had people who cared about him, loved him, and cared for him. But he had none. He was obviously older than Zhao Tianan. Why did Zhao Tianan have girls who cared about him? But he did not. He was obviously older than Zhao Tianan. If Zhao Tianan was married, but he as his cousin did not, how embarrassing would that be? Sigh. Zhao Tianhu sighed softly. Zhao Yun'er heard this and asked, "Second cousin, what's wrong with you? Why are you sighing? Are you tired? If you're tired, you can rest for a while." Zhao Tianhu smiled and waved his hand. No. I'm tired." Then, Zhao Yun'er looked at Zhao Tianhu curiously. Chapter 1049. Zhao Yun'er raised her eyebrows curiously. "What's wrong with Tianan? Tianan is so lucky. There are other girls who care for him. And you're feeding him food. But I don't." After saying that, Zhao Tianhu pursed his lips, feeling a little wronged and frustrated. Zhao Yun'er giggled. She thought that her second cousin was really funny, and had a lot of fun talking. When Zhao Tianan heard Zhao Tianhu's words, he blushed slightly, and didn't dare to take the food that Mu Hin handed over. Mu Hin also stood at the side shyly. "I say, second cousin, do you also want a woman to care for you and love you? Isn't the one you went on a blind date with pretty good? If you marry her, you'll be able to enjoy life like Tianan." Zhao Yun'er joked. She wondered if all men were the same. Once they reached a certain age, they would want to marry, and have a woman to accompany and take care of them. Even if I wanted to marry her, I might not be able to. Maybe she doesn't like me. I'm not as lucky as Tianan. Zhao Tianhu mumbled. Zhao Yun'er patted Zhao Tianhu's shoulder and comforted him. "Second cousin, don't think too badly. You have good qualities, so why wouldn't she like you? Don't worry, I think it'll work." After being comforted by Zhao Yun'er, Zhao Tianhu's mood improved a lot. "Little sister Yun'er, you really think highly of me. With your words, I feel much more at ease. I'm just telling the truth. Come second cousin, there aren't any other girls to feed you. Let me feed you." As Zhao Yun'er spoke, she brought some food over and handed it to Zhao Tianhu's mouth. Zhao Tianhu's face reddened slightly. "Little sister Yun'er, this is okay." Zhao Tianhu was a little shy, and both sides of his face turned red. "What's wrong with that? Come, let's eat." Unable to resist Zhao Yun'er's enthusiasm, Zhao Tianhu finally ate it. "Thank you, little sister Yun'er." "You're welcome, second cousin. Just wait until you get married in the future." Zhao Tianhu responded. After hearing Zhao Yun'er's words, his heart became more and more expectant. If he could have a wife, what kind of feeling would it be? Wouldn't it be wonderful? While Zhao Yun'er was busy, on the other side, the family Qin people carried Zhao Ping'er back home. Along the way, Qin Yuan's face was dark and sullen. Just thinking about it made Zhao Ping'er angry. This woman only knew how to embarrass him. She thought about how Zhao Ping'er was dressed. Qin Yuan was even more furious. She was such an ugly woman. Later, he would have to go through the wedding ceremony with her. Did he do something bad in his previous life? Did he kill a lot of people? Was that why God treated him like this? Just as he was deep in thought, there was a sudden loud noise. The whole sedan chair collapsed. Zhao Ping sat on the ground and cried out in pain. Ouch, what's going on? Why did the sedan chair collapse? Mu Chunfang asked anxiously. The two men carrying the sedan chair were helpless. We don't know. It collapsed while we were carrying it. It's probably because the sedan chair was too old and couldn't bear the weight. Didn't we say before we came that the sedan chair might not be able to hold it? See, we were right, weren't we? It's not my fault that the sedan chair is broken. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.